Extracting World of Warcraft skills in American comics. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101. In the morning, in front of the neighborhood tavern, a truck was parked in front of the tavern, and the truck was full of goods. Steve was carrying the newly delivered drinks with his bare chest. Mei Gan came to Steve with little Sissy in his arms. "Steve, you were called by Ludan again these days." Mei Gan sat on a box and asked Steve. "Yes, he found a Hydra base, so I went there," Steve said without blushing or panting, while carrying 2 boxes of drinks, and then walked back to the tavern. "You are really destined to work hard," Mei Gan said to Steve's back. "As long as Hydra is still on Earth, my battle with them will never end. It seems that those Hydra guys are in trouble, and they are being remembered by our Mr. Steve." Mei Gan joked with a smile. Steve put 2 boxes of wine into the warehouse, then came out and sat next to Mei Gan, handed Mei Gan a bottle of dark beer, opened it and took a sip, and then whispered, "Mei, I saw Bucky. He is not dead. I'm sure it must be him. Oh, by the way, you don't know Bucky." "You don't have to tell me. I know who Bucky is." Mei Gan didn't want to listen to his introduction and interrupted him directly. "You know, Mei," Steve said happily, then reacted and continued, "I forgot. You are a magician. You even know where I'm frozen, let alone Bucky." "He is not called Bucky now. He is called the Winter Soldier, and now he is a killer of Hydra, and he is controlled by brainwashing." Mei Gan opened the dark beer and grabbed the little hand of Sissy, who wanted to grab the beer. "No wonder he didn't recognize me and attacked me," Steve suddenly realized. "Steve, there is something I think I should tell you. You'd better solve the Hydra and Bucky issues as soon as possible." Mei Gan thought about it and decided to tell Steve as soon as possible. Otherwise the two of them would have a civil war, which would not be good for anyone. And now everyone's relationship is pretty good. When Mei Gan takes action to dispel those guys' desire to control Tony and others, the civil war will not happen. Now let Steve deal with Bucky's issue first. The civil war is still far away, and Ultron hasn't come out yet. By the way, why did they forget to take the Mind Scepter last time? Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many things. When they get the Mind Scepter, they have to remind Tony. "What's the matter? Don't scare me, so serious." Steve smiled and touched the beer bottle in Mei Gan's hand. "Bucky killed Howard Stark and his wife, Tony's parents," Mei Gan said seriously. This Steve's pupils shrank, and his brows frowned when he heard it. This problem, Steve felt very tricky. One side was his best friend, the other was a like-minded friend, and he had a good relationship with Tony now. Think about it yourself. Do you want to tell him? He has the right to know. Mei Gan looked at Steve, who was lost in thought, then stood up and patted Steve on the shoulder and said, "Mei, you have given me a difficult problem." Steve smiled bitterly and drank the beer in his hand in one breath, looking at Mei Gan's back and said, boom. A sound came from the air, and Tony drove his mark armor down from the sky. "Mei, something happened." Pulling up the mask, Tony said to Mei Gan, who was holding little Sissy. "What happened?" Mei Gan was puzzled. "I just had a few days of leisurely days, and you came to say that something happened." Mei Gan was a little speechless. "Can I still live a good life? Happy is injured by terrorists, and is still in a coma in the hospital. I came to buy you a bottle of medicine." Tony's face was quite serious. Happy had long been like a family member in his heart. Even though Happy's legs and feet were not flexible now, and he could no longer be his bodyguard, Tony still did not dismiss Happy. Tony was furious when Happy was injured this time. Those guys must pay the price. Mei Gan was stunned when he heard this. That scientist who was a badass is coming. Fortunately, he didn't ask me to fight. I was too lazy and didn't want to do it. Then he took out a bottle of potion from the space and threw it into Tony's hand. "Here, take it. It's free. Just help me transform my transport plane when the time comes." "Thanks, Mei," Tony said with a clenched fist after taking the bottle of green potion. "Go save Happy." Mei Gan waved to Tony and walked forward with little Sissy in his arms. Tony glanced at Mei Gan's back pulled down his mask, and then drove the Mark armor into the sky. Those so-called terrorists. Tony's face was gloomy, and his eyes flashed with coldness. Don't think that I, Tony, can bully you at will, because I'm not as strong as Mei now. Tony thought so, and the speed of the Mark armor soared again, flying towards the hospital. 2 days later, Mei Gan saw Tony's warning and provocation to the terrorists on TV. It's really a pity for the villa to be destroyed like this. TSK TSK TSK. The capitalists shouldn't feel bad. This beautiful country with so many disasters can enjoy the fireworks again, but I don't know when it will be. I'm really looking forward to it. Mei Gan thought about the fireworks Tony set off 4 pots before he traveled through time. Should he ask Audrey to go and watch the fireworks? Forget it. Mei, we are going shopping tomorrow. We need to buy some clothes for little Sissy. Some of her clothes can't be worn anymore, and she has grown so fast recently. Audrey walked to Mei Gan and sat down, hugged his arm and said, "Okay, let's go shopping tomorrow." Mei Gan looked at Audrey's pink and white face next to him and couldn't help pinching it. "Stop it." Audrey slapped away Mei Gan's hand that was teasing her, and then continued, "By the way, I'll buy you a few sets of clothes. Some people only have 3 or 4 sets of clothes in their wardrobes. The ones you bought yourself are all broken, and only the ones I bought for you before are left. Why do I need so many clothes as a grown man? Just enough to wear is enough." Mei Gan actually didn't want to go shopping and try on clothes for too long, otherwise he would be like a puppet trying on clothes from morning to afternoon, which would be really uncomfortable. Mei Gan was like this last time, and he would never go to buy his own clothes tomorrow. Audrey was more casual when buying clothes for herself. She would go out after trying on clothes and felt that they were suitable. She would never go around randomly, but she would go shopping for a whole day to buy clothes for Mei Gan. Mei Gan didn't know what was wrong with this woman. "Oh, I guess it's because I'm too good looking and I look good in any piece of clothing." I didn't know that it was because he was too bad looking and it was difficult to find a piece of clothing that suited him. But Audrey was different. She was good looking and looked good in anything. "That won't work. I must buy you a few sets tomorrow." Audrey stared at Mei Gan with gentle eyes. After a while, Mei Gan was defeated. Okay, you have the final say." Mei Gan had no choice but to stand her eyes that could melt people. Sure enough, Mei Gan still couldn't escape Audrey's palm. "Bo, honey, you are so nice." Audrey kissed Mei Gan's face and said with a bright smile, "Of course, please vote." Chapter 102 Shackles. The next day, Mei Gan and Audrey had breakfast and they took little Sissy to the shopping mall. Driving his SUV, they headed towards the city center. The flower shop was closed today. Evie went out with Kato yesterday and hasn't come back yet. Kato has learned bad things and learned to take girls out to spend the night. Steve went out again early in the morning. He should be tracking down the whereabouts of the Winter Soldier. It is estimated that he will not be home for several days, so Linda may have to go to the supermarket to buy vegetables again. Linda is so pitiful. Last night, Mei Gan and Audrey sent the Quinjet to Tony's beach villa and asked Tony to help modify it when he was free. Tony has been staying at the beach villa recently. Although he does not suffer from anxiety, he is now determined to upgrade his armor. He doesn't want to be beaten again next time. In addition, Tony also shouted at the terrorists and told them that the address was here at the beach villa. He didn't dare to tell the address on that street. Don't accidentally destroy Mei Gan's house. Mei Gan will go crazy. And even if they said it, the terrorists probably wouldn't dare to step into that street. After all, they are not fools. When the Quinjet is modified, we will go to the universe to travel and enjoy the scenery. This is an opportunity that I have to wait for many years in my previous life. If I don't travel through time, I will never have such an opportunity. Mei Gan was particularly excited just thinking about it. Looking at the stars and the Milky Way, it should be very beautiful. On the other side, Mei Gan had already brought the two of them to a shopping mall. Looking at the scene of people coming and going at the entrance of the shopping mall, who would have thought that this place had just been baptized by aliens some time ago? "Let's go. Honey, I must buy you some nice clothes today," Audrey said with a smile while hugging Mei Gan's arm. Mei Gan pushed the stroller and looked at Audrey beside him with a wry smile. He wanted to run away now. Little Sissy in the stroller was very excited. She had never seen so many people. Since she got off the car, her little hands have been waving, and her little mouth has been calling non-stop. Look, little Sissy is so excited. Honey, you should be happy too. Why are you so sad while shopping? Audrey looked at Mei Gan, who had a sad face, and pinched his cheek with her two white hands, pulling it into an arc. Okay, let's go in. Let's finish shopping earlier and go back earlier. Mei Gan rubbed the cheek that Audrey pinched and said to her, "That's right." Hey, Audrey hugged Mei Gan's arm tightly and pulled Mei Gan towards the mall. After all, Mei Gan had promised Audrey yesterday, so he had to bite the bullet and push the stroller to follow Audrey. Afternoon in Tony's beach villa. Tony was looking for clues to the terrorist bombing, but he didn't know that at sea, 3 helicopters were approaching his beach villa. On the other side, in the mall, in a clothing store, Mei Gan, who was almost broken by the torment, took the set of clothes handed over by Audrey and walked into the fitting room blankly with a look of despair on his face. This was the number of sets of clothes that Mei Gan had tried today, and he couldn't count them. Since helping the little guy choose clothes in the morning, Mei Gan has been on the way to try on clothes. Several people have visited all the men's clothing stores in the mall, except for the time for lunch, but Audrey was still in high spirits. Even the little guy only slept for more than an hour, and then she was quite excited to see her father change into a different set of clothes in a few minutes like magic. It made her feel very novel. Mei Gan changed into the clothes just now and walked out of the fitting room, looking at the little sissy who was sitting in the stroller and staring at him excitedly and dancing with joy. He sighed in his heart. It seems that this little girl will also be a spendthrift girl when she grows up. Now she likes shopping so much. How much money will she spend in the future? No, the money in the card is not enough now, and we must make more money. Not long after, Audrey swiped her card excitedly and pushed little sissy out of the clothing store. Behind her, Mei Gan, who was covered with bags, followed Audrey woodenly. At this moment, a thin man with long hair came to Mei Gan in a panic. He looked around while walking. When he was thinking about finding an excuse to trick Audrey back, Mei Gan felt something wrong with the long-haired man. The closer he got, the higher his temperature became. Mei Gan frowned. Is the desperate virus trying to create an explosion again? Is it in this mall or somewhere else? Should I do it? Looking at the long-haired man rushing towards the exit next to Mei Gan thought in his heart. Then his eyes lit up. Isn't this a good excuse to go home? Thanks, man. In order to thank you for saving the great me, I won't kill you. I'll hand you over to Nick's boiled egg. But I have to cure the desperate virus. After thinking about it, Mei Gan threw all the bags on his body to the ground. Then he stretched out his right hand towards the long-haired man. A red light quickly flew out from Mei Gan's hand, and then the red light bloomed, and a huge red light net enveloped the long-haired man. In the blink of an eye, he was captured by the red net. It took only half a second from Mei Gan's move to the capture of the long-haired man. At this time, the people in the mall reacted. Seeing the red light net that suddenly appeared, the people in the mall screamed and fled in all directions. Mei Gan ignored the crowd, stretched out his hand to take out the flame ball from Audrey's neck, walked to the side of the captured long-haired man, and with a thought, a suction force appeared on the flame ball, sucking all the high temperature energy on the man into the flame ball. Around, there were also brave people in the crowd, looking over here and looking at Mei Gan and others curiously. Then, as if they had discovered Mei Gan's identity, they shouted excitedly, "It's the Ash Mage! It's the Ash Mage!" Hearing the voices from the crowd, the fleeing crowd stopped in their tracks. Their panicked expressions immediately changed to curiosity, and then they rushed towards Mei Gan. At this time, the security guards in the mall rushed to Mei Gan's side and blocked the crowd rushing towards this side. A blond man who looked like a security captain walked up to Mei Gan and asked a little stiffly, "Mr. Magician, this is. Tell them all to get out. This guy has a bomb on him." Mei Gan held a ball of fire in his hand and absorbed the last bit of high temperature energy from the man before speaking to the security captain. The security captain's face changed immediately after hearing this. He did not doubt Mei Gan's words. He knew that there had been bombings during this period. If Mei Gan had not been there today, this mall might have become the headline of tomorrow's newspaper. The security captain did not delay and immediately walked towards the crowd and then dispersed the crowd with other security guards. Audrey picked up little Sissy from the stroller long before Mei Gan made her move and walked aside to avoid hindering Mei Gan. "Hey, George, I caught a terrorist who wanted to bomb. Come over here and take over. XXXX mall, yes, okay, that's it." Mei Gan took out his phone and called George. He wanted to call Ludan, but when he thought about the fact that the high temperature energy on this guy was gone, he was too lazy to listen to Ludan's voice and just called George directly. Chapter 103 Tony disappears again. Outside the mall, customers and staff were running out of the mall one after another at the gate, and everyone's face was full of panic and anxiety. At this time, the siren sounded. 4 or 5 police cars stopped at the gate anxiously. George hurriedly led a dozen policemen to the mall. Not long after, George and a dozen subordinates rushed to Mei Gan's position. He asked Mei Gan with some relief, "Mei, it's good to have you here. How is it?" After George finished speaking, he glanced at the long-haired man who was captured by the red light net. The man's eyes were a little dazed, and he hadn't said a word since he was captured. Mei Gan didn't pay attention to this guy either. The guy on the ground. These explosions are not caused by ordinary bombs, but human bombs. There is very terrifying high temperature energy in his body. You interrogate him and see if you can find the guy who supplies this energy. I'll leave it to you. Mei Gan pointed to the long-haired man on the ground and explained to George. This. George's brows suddenly became a character. Mei Gan patted George's shoulder, then with his right hand, he took back the red shackles. When the shackles disappeared, a tall and strong policeman immediately knelt the long-haired man on the ground, and the man immediately let out a cry of pain. "Let's go, George." Mei Gan glanced at the policeman and the long-haired man, then said to George, "Okay, thanks, Mei. I'll invite you to have a drink at Steve's place later." Okay. After greeting George, Mei Gan picked up the bag scattered on the ground and walked towards the entrance of the mall with Audrey. "Leave this to George." Shackles. In the game, it is called air shackles, a skill of the human flying unit Dragon Eagle, but the skill effect in the game is useful for aerial targets, while the system can be used for all targets. Net a target, lock it, and the locked target unit cannot move or cast spells. There is damage in the game, but now there is no damage effect. On the other side, Mei Gan brought Audrey and little Sissy back to the car. Mei Gan finally breathed a sigh of relief. They could finally go home. It was not easy. "Mei, dear, let's go to the next street to pick out a few more sets. I feel like I haven't bought enough for you," Audrey suddenly said to Mei Gan after getting in the car. Mei Gan felt like sweating on his forehead when he heard it. "If you come again, it will kill people." Mei Gan looked at Audrey with a wry smile and said, "Honey, I think it's enough. If you want to go shopping, you have to wait until next time. Look, it's getting dark, and little Sissy is still sleeping. She didn't sleep much today." Mei Gan pointed to the sun that was about to set and little Sissy who was about to fall asleep. Audrey looked at little Sissy in her arms and the sky outside, and then she gave up the idea of continuing to shop. Seeing that Audrey gave up the idea of continuing to shop, Mei Gan breathed a sigh of relief again. In order to prevent Audrey from mentioning shopping again, Mei Gan immediately started the car and drove towards the block. He stepped on the accelerator and the SUV sped out at high speed. Mei Gan shortened the journey from an hour to 40 minutes. Looking at the mysterious tower at the gate, Mei Gan felt like a human being again. Shopping for clothes was too scary. The car stopped steadily at the door of the flower shop. Mei Gan got out of the car and gently picked up the sleeping little Sissy and walked towards the flower shop. Just after Mei Gan put little Sissy in the crib, his phone rang. "Hello." Mei Gan answered the phone, but heard Pot's anxious voice coming from the phone. "Mei, Tony was attacked and he disappeared. I'm worried about him. Can you please find him?" "I know you can do it," Pot said anxiously with a crying voice. Pot's helplessness can be heard from the phone, as if the sky has fallen. Mei Gan heard this and comforted Potts, saying, "Potts, don't worry, I will find him. Don't worry, he is very strong. You have to believe him." "Thank you, Mei, I'm fine." Thank you for your help. Don't worry. I will find the whereabouts of that guy now. Thank you. Potts kept thanking him. His voice was a little choked. Mei Gan comforted Potts again and then hung up the phone. In the evening, in Tennessee, snowflakes were floating in the sky. A man with scars on his face was dragging a steel armor and staggering in the snow. That was the missing Tony Stark. Tony used all his strength to finally find a house and dragged the armor into the house. Tony collapsed on the sofa. He couldn't rest now. Who knows if those guys will find this place. He must rest out the Mark armor. The armor must be fully charged. At this moment, a blue light bloomed above Tony's head and a magic picture appeared under his feet. The sudden light scared Tony. When he could see the magic pattern under his feet clearly, Tony smiled happily. He knew that Mei had come. A white light flashed and Mei Gan's figure appeared beside Tony. Tony, you are really in a mess. Mei Gan looked at Tony and said with a smile, it's great to see you. Tony stood up and gave Mei Gan a hug, not caring about Mei Gan's joke. I like women, Tony, don't be too touched, you have to pay for it. Mei Gan pushed Tony away with disdain. Hey, man, I don't care about money, I have so much that I can't count it. I just know that it must be you who found me. Okay, Potts is very worried about you, give her a call. Mei Gan took out his mobile phone, dialed Potts' number, and handed it to Tony. Thanks. Tony first punched Mei Gan's shoulder, then took the phone. Listening to their conversation, Mei Gan looked at Mark armor leaning on the sofa with some disgust. I walked up and knocked on the door out of boredom. At this time, the door opened and a little boy walked into the room. He saw the two people in the room at a glance. The little boy was stunned at first and then looked at Mei Gan and the others with some caution. Looking at the little boy who came in, Mei Gan looked at him with interest. Sir, who are you? This is my place. The little boy looked at Mei Gan and asked. Then he saw the Iron Man armor leaning on the sofa and the weariness on his face disappeared without a trace. He ran to Mei Gan and the armor excitedly and knocked on the Iron Man armor in disbelief. This is true, sir. How can Iron Man's armor be here? The little boy touched the armor and turned to look at Mei Gan in confusion. Then you have to ask Mr. Stark over there. Mei Gan pointed to Tony who was talking on the phone with Potts. Tony turned around and looked over here. The moment the little boy saw Tony, his eyes lit up. He was a fan of Iron Man. Then he looked at Mei Gan carefully with curiosity. After a while, the little boy jumped up, grabbed Mei Gan's clothes and said happily, are you Mr. Ash Wizard? It's really you. Although he is a fan of Iron Man, he is also a fan of Mei Gan, and he likes him even more. It's genuine. Do you want an autograph, little guy? Mei Gan touched his head and asked with a smile. Please vote. Chapter 104. He's dead. Night. On the highway, a car was speeding. In the car, Potts was driving the car. A woman with scars on her face was sitting on the passenger seat next to him. Why did you come to my house tonight? What's so important that you have to talk to Tony? Potts drove the car and turned to look at the woman next to him and asked. The woman pursed her lips and said, I think my boss is working hard for man Linda, so if you want to talk about this, you'd better find a safe place to talk. Potts was stunned for a moment, then said, okay, your boss is working hard for man Linda, how is it possible? Tony clearly said you are a botanist. Okay, I'll take you to a safe place to talk. After Potts finished speaking, he stepped on the accelerator and the car drove towards the block. Soon, they arrived at the gate of the block. On the other side, Mei Gan and Tony were saying goodbye to the little boy Holly. Letting go of Tony's hand, little Harley waved to the two and said, nice to meet you, goodbye. Mei Gan touched the little boy's head, and then with a thought, the blue magic circle appeared again, white light appeared, Mei Gan and Tony and his armor disappeared into the house. Big Apple City, next to the turret of the block. White light flashed, and Mei Gan and Tony appeared next to the turret. Tony as soon as the two appeared, Potts, who got off the car, rushed into Tony's arms. I'm fine Potts. Tony patted Potts in his arms and said softly. Thank you, Mei. I knew it would be no problem to find you. Potts wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and thanked Mei Gan next to him again. You're welcome. I think you should have something to discuss. Go. Mei Gan patted Tony's shoulder and said. Then he turned around and was about to leave. At this time, Potts called Mei Gan and said to him, "Mei, I think you should also want to know about this." Mei Gan turned around and looked at Potts in confusion. "What does this have to do with me? Tony can handle it by himself." "Mei, your plane was affected. There is a big hole in the fuselage," Potts said seriously. "Wait, are you serious?" Mei Gan tilted his head and asked in a tone of, "Are you sure it is so?" "Yes, it was hit by a stray bullet, accidentally. It's not a bullet, it's a shell," Potts said very confidently. "Didn't I move the Quinjet away from your villa? It can still be hit by a shell like this." Mei Gan's face was already a little ugly. It was because he knew that Tony would be attacked, so Mei Gan deliberately parked the Quinjet a little further away. Originally, Mei Gan didn't want to drive the transport plane over now, but Tony said that he would be there recently anyway, so it would be better to stop there early so that he could help Mei Gan modify it when he was free. Otherwise he didn't know how long it would take to go back to the beach villa to help him modify it. There was no other way. Mei Gan had to ask Audrey to drive the Quinjet over and park it far away. Who knew that it could be affected like this? It wasn't shown like this in the movie. Didn't those guys attack the building by the sea where Tony was? Even Potts and the female scientist were not affected when they went outside the door. Am I not worthy of owning a house, a car and a plane? They are targeting my property, right? Shit. Yes, Potts nodded. Very good. Now this matter has something to do with me. That guy's dead. Mei Gan put his arm around Tony's shoulders and walked towards Steve's tavern together. "Mei, after this is done, I will fix your Quinjet." Tony turned and looked at Mei Gan and said. Mei Gan didn't say anything. He was angry. And at this time outside the block, Killian and a few of his men looked at the mysterious tower standing tall at the entrance of the block, with some anger in their eyes. "Damn magician, what is this building?" Killian thought for a moment and walked towards the block with a few of his men. "Anyway, they probably don't know about my existence yet. I'm just going to find Potts and ask Potts to come out. It should be okay. Hello, I'm Miss Potts' friend." Just after arriving at the security booth, I asked the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent inside, who knew that a huge black wolf with red patterns on its back walked out of the mysterious building. A pair of cold eyes were staring at them, as if they would pounce on them and bite them at any time if they moved. "Sir, this animal." Killian frowned and asked the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Killian was not afraid of this giant wolf. They were also very powerful. They were just afraid of disturbing the mysterious magician, which would be a big trouble. "Hey, Adam, why did you come out?" S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Alexander asked the giant wolf. Adam was the name Norman gave to this shadow wolf, and the other one was called Eve. Mei Gan had no objection. After all, they were just the names of two huskies. Alexander was also a little confused. Generally speaking, even if someone came, it would not come out of the mysterious nest. Adam would only come out to have fun when passing by, except Norman Osborn and Mr. May. Of course, the fun was for Mr. May. Mr. Osborn was a keeper. Adam would play with Mr. Osborn when he was in a good mood and would accept the food and ignore Mr. Osborn when he was in a bad mood. Could it be that Adam came out for some fresh air? Seeing that Adam ignored him and just stared at the group of people with his eyes, Alexander realized that something was wrong. There was something wrong with this group of people. The mysterious and powerful Adam would not be hostile to others casually. Alexander was very unhappy when he received the task at first. After all, you ask me, a level 3 agent, to guard the door for others, and I must feel uncomfortable. Ever since Mr. May summoned Adam and Eve, he and his colleagues at the back door have liked this mission. They rest in the security booth every day, don't have to risk their lives, and still get paid. Now there is a divine beast like Adam to accompany them. Apart from anything else, safety has been greatly improved. In the future, it may be possible to send the children to the school in this neighborhood. Mr. Stark and Mr. Osborn have already built a school on a piece of land behind the back street. With the strong capital of the Stark and Osborn group, the teaching staff must be top-notch. I'm getting off topic. Alexander gently pressed the button under the seat, then took out the pistol from his waist and looked at Killian and his group warily. "Sir, what do you want to do with Miss Potts?" Alexander looked at Killian and asked. "Sir, Miss Potts and I have some cooperation to discuss. Can you please help me contact her? Thank you." Seeing Alexander, who was on guard against him and others, Killian frowned slightly, wondering whether he should leave first and wait for Potts to come out before taking him down. However, it was too late. A group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents had surrounded them. Killian also noticed something was wrong and turned around to look behind him. "Fuck, do it." Killian was furious. He was fooled by a little security guard. Upon hearing this, Killian's men rushed to meet the group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Chapter 105. Night. In the pub, Mei Gan sat at the table with a gloomy face. Just at this time, Banner and Johnny stepped into the pub together. The two came to Mei Gan and saw Mei Gan's face. They were a little confused. Who made Mei Gan, who was always easy to talk to, angry? Could it be that someone blew up Mei's house again? That's not right. I didn't see any damage to the house when I came in just now. Or someone damaged Mei Gan's car again, so the car parked at the door should be Mei Gan's car. What's going on? Did Mei Gan lose money in the stock market? Then we have to walk away. Banner and Johnny looked at each other and took a few steps back. "Hey, Bruce, Johnny, you are here." Tony greeted the two. "Ah, yes, let's go to the bar to get a glass of wine first and come over later." The two waved to Tony, then looked at Mei Gan with a dark face and then walked towards the bar. Soon, the two returned to the table with a glass of wine and asked Norman, standing next to them, softly, "Norman, what happened to them? Mei doesn't look very good." "I don't know. I just arrived too." Norman shrugged and replied. At this moment, at the gate of the block, the battle between the two sides was about to break out. A dozen S.H.I.E.L.D. agents with guns were pointing their guns at Killian and his group. Killian's men reacted quickly and dodged the bullets shot at them. Although the bullets couldn't kill them, it would still hurt. No one wanted to be shot in vain, right? The gunshot startled the crowd around, and the people shopping on the street fled in all directions. Screams continued. The gunshots did not last long. After a while, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were killed by these guys with the extremis virus. Although the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were specially trained and proficient in many combat skills, how could they beat these guys injected with the extremis virus? Except for Alexander, the other agents who surrounded him received lunch boxes as soon as they appeared, and Alexander cleverly hid behind Adam. Behind Adam, Alexander was holding a pistol and staring at Killian in front of him vigilantly. However, he did not dare to pull the trigger of the pistol. On the other side, when the gunshots rang out, everyone in the tavern was startled. Their faces changed, and they were about to rush out of the block. However, they saw Mei Gan throwing down a word and heading for the gate. In fact, when Killian approached the gate of the block, Mei Gan already knew. Even if Mei Gan did not observe the surroundings all the time, the shadow wolf Adam at the door would report. Mei Gan, who was not very happy, was even more furious. Did he want to come here to demonstrate to me? If Killian knew Mei Gan's thoughts, he might cry out in injustice. "How could I come to demonstrate to you when I couldn't even hide from you?" He just came to find Potts, but he didn't know that Mei Gan knew his identity all the time. Killian thought he was hiding well. After receiving Adam's message, Mei Gan's mental power immediately probed outside the gate. "Humph, I haven't come to find you yet, but you dare to come to my door. You are really not afraid of death." Mei Gan snorted coldly, with the scene of Killian and his men killing those agents in his mind. There was a gunfight there. Tony, who was next to Mei Gan, heard Mei Gan's words and asked with some confusion. "The guy who destroyed your villa and opened a hole in my plane came to the door himself." Mei Gan stood up and walked towards the gate after speaking to Tony and the others. "Fuck, it's the so-called Melinda who is here." Tony stared and cursed, then followed Mei Gan. Behind Tony, Potts and the female doctor also ran out. Banner, Johnny, and Norman, who didn't know what was going on, also followed them. At the gate, the moment the gunshots rang out, Killian knew that things were serious. Killing people at the door of those guys, they were probably coming. Thinking of this, Killian took a deep look at Alexander and the giant wolf at the door, and turned around to lead his men away. However, at this time, Killian and his men saw a figure appear in front of them. Next to the person, a fiery red fireball was floating beside him, and it was constantly moving around him. The person who came was Mei Gan, and the fireball floating next to Mei Gan was the fireball. Just now, Mei Gan did not rush out immediately and went to Audrey to get the fireball. The fireball can be said to be the nemesis of the desperate virus. Looking at the mysterious Chinese, Killian and others felt a little nervous. They knew who they met, the one they least wanted to meet. Swallowing his saliva, Killian took a few steps forward and said to Mei Gan, "Mr. Magician, we have no intention of shooting here, and we are also." Before he finished speaking, Killian was interrupted by Mei Gan. "I don't care whether you shot or not, I just know that you offended me," Mei Gan said angrily with a big hand. Killian's face changed from black to white after being interrupted. It turned out that there were people in the United States who were good at changing faces, but they didn't have the essence of the Celestial Empire. Killian was a little angry. "Even if you are a powerful magician, how can I let you cast magic on us when you are so close to me? In just half a second, I can hold you in my hands and make you want to live or die." Killian was thinking about it in his mind, but he was interrupted by a short-haired female subordinate beside him. He glared at his subordinate with some annoyance, and then saw that Mei Gan had a dark face and was only 1 meter away from them. He was immediately ecstatic. "I didn't expect you to be so arrogant that you dared to get close to me, and only 1 meter away." Without further delay, Killian's body flashed with red light, and his figure pounced on Mei Gan like a cheetah. Don't say it. If it was any other magician, he might really flip at this moment, but this person is Mei Gan. How could he flip? Mei Gan is not a regular magician. He has a cheat. Just when Killian was about to grab Mei Gan with both hands, he found that his neck was pinched by a hand, and it was difficult to breathe. How could this be possible? Killian widened his eyes and looked at the magician who was pinching him. He had expected a thin body. How could he be so strong? Fortunately, there was still the extremis virus in his body, and Killian felt much more at ease. A huge high temperature appeared on his neck, as if it wanted to destroy one of Mei Gan's hands. However, it was useless. "Is this what you rely on? It doesn't look good. It didn't even burn the hair on my hand. It's too weak." Mei Gan pinched Killian's neck with one hand and patted his cheek with the other hand. "You opened a hole in my plane, and you dared to come to my door to demonstrate. You are really amazing. Do you think I dare not kill you?" After that, Mei Gan threw Killian to the ground and said indifferently. Killian was a little confused. "How could I have made a hole in your plane? I haven't even taken a plane many times. When did I make a hole in your plane? Don't accuse a good person." Chapter 106, Terrifying Howl. At the entrance of the block, Mei Gan was looking down at Killian, who was sitting on the ground, with no expression on his face. Behind Killian, his men were ready to rescue Killian, but they were a little afraid of Mei Gan's strength. On the ground, Killian was a little angry and a little ashamed. This Chinese insulted him as soon as he came, and didn't give him any chance to explain. Although he came here to catch people, he is still kind now, and he hasn't caught anyone yet. But he just can't beat him. This Chinese has a big fist, and Killian has no way to deal with it. And this Chinese also said something about making a hole in his plane. What kind of words is that? When did I make a hole in your plane? I haven't even seen your plane. Can you accuse someone just because you have a big fist? It seems that you trust the power in your body very much. You dare to come to my door directly, Mei Gan said as he walked forward a few steps. Wait, Mr. Magician, do we have any misunderstanding? I have never offended you in any way, and we are just here tonight to look for someone. Killian sat on the ground, stretched out a hand to stop Mei Gan's steps, and said, "Misunderstanding. I have no objection to you asking people to destroy Tony's villa. He has a lot of money and can restore it in a few days. But your people blew a hole in the plane I left with Tony, and you said it was a misunderstanding." Mei Gan said fiercely. Killian cursed inwardly, and then glanced at a bald man among his subordinates. No wonder this Chinese has been aggressive. It turns out that this is the reason. Damn, you guys are killing me. Mr. Magician, how could we have done that? You must have found the wrong person. It was the terrorist man Linda who did it, not me. Killian still wanted to quibble. Boy, do you think I'm a fool? I know more than you think, and you still want to lie to me. That year, Tony stood you up all night and let you blow the wind on the roof all night. You have thought about taking revenge on him. Also, man, Linda is just an actress, and you are the one behind the scenes. Am I right? Mei Gan stared straight into Killian's eyes and said. Killian was terrified. Why did this Chinese know everything? How did he know it? Since he had been exposed, Killian could only give it a try. Thinking in his mind, Killian's hand behind his back moved secretly. The few people behind Killian accepted it and saw the gesture of the hand. They immediately understood it and were ready to fight to the death. At this time, Tony and his men had already arrived at the door of the block. Looking at Killian lying on the ground, the two women, Potts and Maya, looked at him in surprise. Mei, he's the guy who attacked me. Tony walked up, looking at Killian with hatred in his eyes and asked. Yes, it's this guy. The guy on TV is just a puppet. Mei Gan nodded. Then leave this guy to me, Tony said and was about to step forward to catch him. However, he was stopped by Mei Gan. At this moment, Killian yelled, do it. Killian said that he had already rushed to Tony first. This was a good opportunity to make Tony a hostage. The few people who heard Killian's words immediately rushed to Mei Gan, trying to stop Mei Gan from helping Tony. As long as they could delay for a while, their boss could arrest Tony Stark. Then they could leave easily. As long as they escaped, they must leave the Big Apple City, so as not to be found by this Chinese again. Mei Gan looked at the few people who rushed to him and Tony, showing a mocking smile, then took a deep breath. Mei Gan opened his mouth and let out a big roar. Roar. The huge sound hit the eardrums of the people behind Mei Gan, as if they were going to be deafened in the next second. Everyone quickly covered their ears. This was because Mei Gan did not cast a skill on them, otherwise they would definitely bleed from all 7 orifices, such as Killian and others who were facing Mei Gan now. The roar disappeared, and a layer of energy waves visible to the naked eye attacked Killian and others. Bang bang. The few people who just wanted to hold Tony hostage have now been blown away 10 meters away by the shockwave. Horrible howl. The skill of the medium strength hero Abyss Demon let out a terrifying howl and attack the enemy unit. The terrifying howl makes the enemy fall into fear forever, and at the same time, suffer from the shockwave, and suffer huge damage. Mei Gan walked towards the few people who were bleeding from all 7 orifices, with a sneer on his mouth. Ah. Killian and others woke up from the dizziness, and the severe pain in their minds made them wail continuously. After all, Killian and his companions were infected with the extremis virus. The dizziness in their heads lasted for several minutes before it dissipated, and the blood had already stopped flowing from their 7 orifices. Moreover, Mei Gan did not want to kill these guys now, so he would let Tony vent his anger later. Mei Gan did not make a move for a few minutes, just looking at the people wailing on the ground. What do you want to do? Killian and his companions supported each other, stood up and looked at Mei Gan and his companions with resentful eyes. I don't want to do anything. I just want the power in you to disappear. I don't know if you will become the Lame one again. Mei Gan smiled, and the fireball floating beside him came in front of Mei Gan. The fireball spun rapidly. A terrifying suction force emerged from the fireball and covered Killian and his companions. Killian and his companions only felt that the high temperature energy in their bodies was floating out of their bodies and converging towards the fireball. The red energy was visible to the naked eye, floating like a stream of molten lava towards the fireball in front of Mei Gan. No, my power. Killian watched the high temperature energy in his body disappear in his body. After a moment, looking at the weak people, Mei Gan chose to ignore them, just stretched out his hand and took the fireball back into his hand. Then he said to Tony behind him, Tony, they are handed over to you. You can take them to vent. Can you not be so ambiguous? Tony rolled his eyes and said, as if I like men and vent. Okay, never mind. I'll leave it to you anyway. Mei Gan waved his hand and said a little uninterested. Mei Gan found that he felt that he couldn't get too interested in doing anything recently. He originally thought that this time Killian and the others would let him have a good time. Who knew that in just a few minutes, Mei Gan had no interest at all? Could it be because he was already invincible and his desire was going to disappear? Mei Gan couldn't help asking himself this, but why was he so excited when Audrey bought several sets of uniforms? It was probably because there was no opponent who could fight, a bit like that bald cape man. Fortunately, I didn't lose my hair. Mei Gan stopped and opened the system with some confusion, and saw that the progress bar of the system had moved. Although it was only a few points. Chapter 107 Mirror Image. Block. Next to the mysterious tower, Mei Gan, who had just stood there, suddenly disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, Mei Gan was already sitting on the sofa in the flower shop. Open the system interface again. Mei Gan looked at the progress bar on the system interface with some doubts. This is because he had just dealt with Killian and his people, and the progress bar moved. So in the future, I have to kill monsters to upgrade your pitfall system. Forget it. Don't even think about asking me to work. I'm a salted fish. Mei Gan closed the system interface and decided not to care about the system upgrade. After all, it is powerful enough now. What's the point of the system? It doesn't matter whether it is upgraded or not. The system doesn't explain what can be obtained by upgrading. You want to run without giving the horse grass to eat. How can you work for nothing? Whatever. After thinking about it, Mei Gan went to wash up and prepare for bed. Morning. After Mei Gan finished breakfast, he sat on the chair at the door of the flower shop with a bag of melon seeds. Next to Mei Gan, there was also a little kid sitting there. The two looked ahead without focus. It had been more than 2 months since the incident with Killian. The weather in the Big Apple had begun to become particularly cold. However, the two did not take the cold seriously. The little one next to Mei Gan was his daughter little S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, little S.H.I.E.L.D. could already walk and even talk. Mei Gan and little S.H.I.E.L.D. were driven out by Audrey because she had to run the store by herself now and asked Mei Gan and little S.H.I.E.L.D. to go out and have fun. Because of the presence of Mei Gan and little S.H.I.E.L.D., Audrey was always restless. Since little S.H.I.E.L.D. could talk, she never stopped talking. She would ask a question when she saw something new, and she would ask while watching TV. She was really asking 100,000 questions. At this time, little S.H.I.E.L.D., who was looking ahead, tilted her head and looked at her father and asked, "Dad, why are we sitting here?" "Bah, baby, we were driven out by your mother and now we don't know where to go." Mei Gan spat out a mouthful of melon seed shells on his hand and said to little S.H.I.E.L.D. next to him, "Dad, what do you mean by drive us out? Why did mom drive us out?" Little S.H.I.E.L.D. looked at her father with some confusion and asked, "Your mom hates you for being too noisy and she can't concentrate on watching TV series, so she drove us out." Mei Gan threw a handful of melon seed shells into the trash can beside the road and answered carefully, "Then Dad, what is dislike? What is concentration? Why does mom dislike me?" Dislike. Dislike means hate, and concentrate. It means to concentrate and do something attentively. Mei Gan continued to chew melon seeds expressionlessly, without any impatience. Dad, is concentration the meaning of me asking you questions attentively like this? And, what does dislike mean? Little S.H.I.E.L.D. tilted her head and looked at Mei Gan with curious eyes. And across the street, in the pub, another Mei Gan was sitting at a table by the window quietly drinking coffee brewed by Kato. This is much more interesting than cowboys drinking milk in the bar. Somewhat fortunately, I glanced at my own reflection. Fortunately he was there. The one with little S.H.I.E.L.D. in front of him with a blank expression was Mei Gan's mirror image. This was the skill of the popular orc hero Swordmaster in World of Warcraft. If Swordmaster knew that Mei Gan used his mirror image skill to take care of the child, I wonder if he would kill Mei Gan with Bladder Storm. There was nothing he could do about it. Mei Gan really couldn't stand little S.H.I.E.L.D.'s questions. Since the little girl could talk, Mei Gan had been tormented for 3 days, and then he used the mirror image without hesitation. In other words, Tony could stand the little girl's questions and came to play with her every day. However, Tony didn't answer little S.H.I.E.L.D.'s questions himself. Every time he came to accompany little S.H.I.E.L.D., he would put his phone in front of little S.H.I.E.L.D. If he had questions, he would ask Jarvis, and if he didn't have any questions, he would play with her toys. Tony was just cheating, so Mei Gan was inspired and decisively used the mirror image. Tony liked little S.H.I.E.L.D.'s thirst for knowledge. He said that this was what a scientist should have, and that little S.H.I.E.L.D. would be a genius scientist who was better than him in the future. This made Mei Gan sneer. Does being able to ask questions make you a genius scientist? Little Sissy is going to be a powerful magician in the future. Tony didn't come today. He said he would go back and make a special artificial intelligence for the little girl and then let the little girl carry it with her so that she could ask the artificial intelligence when she had any questions. After hearing this, Mei Gan had already searched the system space several times, but he couldn't find any items that could be compared with artificial intelligence. Pets can't know too many things, and some questions can't be answered. Alas. Sadness. I was actually beaten by Tony. Forget it, it's my little cotton padded jacket anyway, so let's beat it. Mei Gan took a sip of coffee and felt that the coffee made by Kato was still delicious. This craftsmanship is unmatched. Recently, Evely and Linda took Kato to rent a store at the gate of the block. Linda made cakes, Kato made coffee, and Evely was the waiter. The three of them opened a coffee shop together. I heard that the decoration will be completed soon, so Audrey has been looking at the flower shop recently, but there is no business at all. Mei Gan is already trying to get Audrey to close the flower shop. Across the street, little Sissy was swinging her short legs, sitting on a chair, and looking at the four people walking over the block with some joy. It was Peter, and Gwen and the other four. Little Sissy waved her hands at the four of them, calling out, Sister Gwen, Brother Peter, Brother Harry, Brother Danny. Little Sissy. When Gwen and the others heard Sissy's words, their faces immediately changed, as if they had seen something horrible. The four of them looked at each other, and then, as if they had not heard the voice, they walked quickly towards the secret base in the turret. Here, brothers and sisters, I'm here. Little Sissy didn't see the expressions of Gwen and the others, as if they had seen a demon, and she still ran towards them excitedly. In little Sissy's heart, the age of these four brothers and sisters was the closest. These brothers and sisters really liked to play with her. How could she know that she was not that curious? Now it would be fine if she could answer the questions asked by little Sissy, but if she couldn't answer them, she would leave a bad impression in the little guy's heart. That wouldn't work. So recently, these guys have been reviewing as soon as they come back, or going to the library, and they have become four nerds. Now they have no way to deal with little Sissy's questions. They think that one day, all the questions asked by little Sissy will be solved in their hearts. Then will the good image lost during this period be restored? These are a few high school students who were asked questions by little Sissy and were exhausted. So pitiful. Little Sissy, the brothers and sisters have to review their homework, so they can't accompany you for now. I will find you to play when I have time. Gwen said a word and quickly disappeared in front of the little guy. Chapter 108. Look, he is anxious. Big Apple. In a basement, Blade looked at the red nutrient tank in front of him. Inside, an old figure was looming in the nutrient tank. This was Whistler, Blade's master and father. He was dead, but those disgusting guys turned him into the creature he hated the most. Looking at the old man in the nutrient tank, Blade's cold face showed no expression. Perhaps he should be killed. Old man, look what they have done to you. Blade took out a flashlight and shone it into the nutrient tank, muttering to himself. Then, Blade opened the nutrient tank, took out the sword behind him, and cut off the pipe behind the old man. Lifting the old man, Blade muttered, I'll take you home. Block. Mei Gan was carrying a large cardboard box and walking towards the flower shop. Inside the cardboard box was the small BMW that Mei Gan bought for the little guy. A small car, a toy specially for children to play with. Yesterday, Tony brought a small watch with an artificial intelligence installed inside. This made the little girl very happy. Since she got it, little Sissy has been wearing it on her hand and has never taken it off. She asks the artificial intelligence a question every few minutes, except when she is sleeping. This made Mei Gan depressed and wanted to throw away the watch. She is obviously my baby daughter, and she doesn't like the toys I bought so much. But she likes a watch given by Tony so much. Mei Gan is not happy. So she ran out to the toy store early and bought a small BMW, pink. Little Sissy will definitely like it. Then she threw away the watch and rushed over to hug this pink car. Can the little girl resist the temptation of pink? Mei Gan thought happily. He had long forgotten the last time he said that Tony gave her cars and planes. It's just that Mei Gan gave her a pink one. Mei Gan walked quickly to the door of the flower shop and shouted loudly inside, "Baby, little sissy, look what daddy bought you." Hearing Mei Gan's shouting, little sissy ran out of the door of the flower shop. Dad, you're back." Little sissy ran to the door and shouted happily at Mei Gan. Mei Gan put down the big cardboard box in his hand, picked up little sissy with a smile on his face. After giving the little guy a kiss on the face, Mei Gan put the little guy on the ground, then pointed at the cardboard box and said to him, "Baby, look what daddy bought you." Little sissy looked at the cardboard box with some curiosity and asked in a soft voice, "What is this, Dad?" After that, she walked forward curiously and patted the cardboard box. Mei Gan smiled mysteriously, walked forward and opened the cardboard box on the ground. Then he said loudly, "Ding ding ding baby, look, what a beautiful car." Little sissy's expectant expression suddenly wilted. She touched the pink car with some disinterest and said listlessly, "Thank you, daddy." Then she lowered her eyes and ran towards the flower shop with a bent waist. Mei Gan, who was standing by, looked at little sissy running into the flower shop in a daze. "Does she like it or not?" Mei Gan muttered. "Ha ha ha. Mei, your car was lifted up by little sissy." Tony came to Mei Gan's side without knowing when and laughed loudly. Tony patted Mei Gan's shoulder and continued to say to Mei Gan with some complacency, "It seems that little sissy still likes the watch given by her godfather more. The fact shows that science is still very useful, for example, in making little sissy happy." Mei Gan glared at Tony, who was smug beside him. He snorted angrily and then walked directly to the flower shop. He didn't care about the pink car at the door. "Look, he's anxious. Mei, he's anxious." Tony pointed at Mei Gan and said. Walking into the flower shop, Mei Gan sat on the sofa in a sullen mood, staring at little sissy who was playing with a small watch with lifeless eyes. "Mei, what are you doing?" Audrey came down from the second floor and walked to Mei Gan's side, asking Mei Gan with some confusion, "Honey, why does the baby like Tony's ugly watch?" "She doesn't like the pink car I bought this morning," Mei Gan asked Audrey beside him with a puzzled look. Pewhee, Audrey couldn't help laughing when she heard it. These two people are really funny. They are competing to please little sissy and are jealous of each other. They are two grown men. Mei Gan rolled his eyes at Audrey, who was laughing happily. "Mei, why don't you just ask little sissy what she likes?" "I asked her, and she asked me what I like means," Mei Gan said speechlessly. "Then I can't give you any advice. Why don't you go ask Gwen tonight? She should know what girls like nowadays," Audrey said helplessly. "Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? Honey, you're really smart," Mei Gan suddenly realized, then happily hugged Audrey beside him and gave her a kiss. 2 days later. Night. In the veteran tavern. Mei Gan was pulling Gwen to a corner, away from Tony, so that he wouldn't hear her. Then he could make a more perfect gift by himself. Although Tony took away his little cotton padded jacket, which was quite annoying, Mei Gan still admired his brain. Mei Gan wanted to ask Gwen 2 nights ago, but she hadn't seen her for the past 2 days. Peter said that the school was going to participate in some competition, and they were all busy recently. Fortunately, Gwen came back today. The first time Mei Gan saw Gwen, he pulled her to a corner and prepared to ask her questions. "Hey, Mei, what are you going to do to my daughter?" George, who had been paying attention to his daughter, hurried to the two of them. "George, wait a minute, I have something to ask your daughter." Mei Gan patted George on the back, indicating that he was relieved. "If you don't mind, I'll listen too." George was still a little worried. It's understandable. After all, every father is wary of male creatures approaching his daughter, regardless of the other party's age. Mei Gan looked at George speechlessly, then shrugged, indicating that if you want to listen, just come. "Mei, do you have anything to ask me?" Gwen also had a puzzled look on her face and was full of curiosity. An omnipotent magician actually asked a high school girl a question. "Gwen, what kind of toys did you like when you were as old as little sissy?" Mei Gan asked Gwen anxiously and then glanced at little sissy who was sitting next to Tony and talking to the watch on her hand. Just this matter before Gwen spoke, George looked at Mei Gan speechlessly. "George, don't make trouble. This is a very important matter." Mei Gan glared at George with dissatisfaction. Mei, are you sure I can talk and run when I'm as old as little sissy? Gwen asked back. Okay. What about when you can run and talk? Mei Gan looked at Gwen with curiosity. Mei, you. George, don't talk yet. I'm asking Gwen. Mei, actually you still have to ask my dad about this. I forgot. Gwen raised her hand and looked at her father, who was very dissatisfied, and said, oh, ahem. Sorry, George, you can tell me now. Mei Gan coughed a few times, walked closer to George, put his arm around his shoulders and asked. As the director of a police station, George was still very generous. He was dissatisfied for more than 10 minutes, letting Mei Gan say nice things to him for more than 10 minutes, and then told Mei Gan generously, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109. I Have Friends. The next day, as soon as the sky was slightly bright, Mei Gan got up refreshed. After changing his clothes, Mei Gan kissed Audrey and little sissy on the face respectively, and then ran excitedly to make breakfast. After breakfast, he was going to go to the mall to buy the toy that George said last night that Gwen liked very much. This time, he would definitely not be outdone by Tony's ugly watch. His Iron Man model watch. How good can it be? And it's pink. Oh, I feel sick just thinking about it. In the morning, Mei Gan and Audrey took little sissy to finish breakfast. After saying hello, they hurriedly drove the sub to the mall. Along the way, Mei Gan imagined the scene of little sissy throwing the watch given by Tony into the corner. Mei Gan was happy just thinking about it. Not long after, Mei Gan had already bought the toy that George said Gwen liked very much. Back to the flower shop, Mei Gan took a cardboard box and ran back to the flower shop excitedly. Before entering the flower shop, Mei Gan started to shout again. Baby, little sissy, look what daddy has brought you. Dad, what did you buy again? Let me see. Hearing the voice, little sissy ran out of the flower shop, holding a flower in her hand, and said excitedly to her father. Ting ting ting, look, daddy brought you a whole set of fairy tales. Daddy will ask mommy to read them to you later, okay? Mei Gan opened the cardboard box in his hand, and inside were fairy tales from many countries. Thank you, Daddy. Grandma Mei has told me these stories a long time ago, and she also told me many other stories. Even the Monkey King told me, and the Guogo that my godfather gave me can also tell stories. Little sissy glanced at the fairy tale in Mei Gan's hand, then put the flower in her hand in Mei Gan's hand with a dull look. Turned around and ran to the physiotherapy center opposite. Mei Gan looked at the book in his hand again in a daze, then threw the book in his hand to the ground, and picked up the flower in his hand with tears in his eyes. Haha, Mei, have you forgotten that the watch I gave to little sissy has artificial intelligence, and it can find stories online at any time to tell little sissy? You actually went to buy fairy tales, are you stupid? Tony appeared next to Mei Gan again, looking at Mei Gan with a belly laugh, and said to him. In the past, Mei Gan always said a few words to him, and now it is finally his turn to retaliate. Mei Gan glared at Tony again, walked to the second floor balcony with a sluggish look, and looked into the distance with empty eyes. Audrey in the flower shop looked at the two people's behavior, shook her head, and picked up the flowers in her hand again. Night. Mei Gan pulled George, looked at him speechlessly and said, George, the method you said doesn't work. How is it possible? When I got home from work, Gwen asked me to tell her fairy tales. She was so happy at that time. George looked at Mei Gan with a face full of affirmation and said, but it's really useless. Little sissy has already heard those stories. Mei Gan said, after taking a sip of wine. Okay. Looks like you have to ask someone else, like Aunt May, George said, pointing to Aunt May next to Uncle Khan. Mei Gan's eyes lit up when he heard that. That's right. How could I forget about Grandma May, whom little sissy loved so much? Thinking about it, he was about to walk towards Aunt May. However, at this moment, Tony came over with a serious face, without the look of quarreling and playing with Mei Gan in the past. What's wrong? Looking at Tony's serious face, Mei Gan asked curiously. Mei, that cool black blade is asking for help. Tony took out his mobile phone, stretched out his hand and pointed. A blue light screen appeared, and a red dot was flashing on it. How did this guy get your contact information? Mei Gan asked puzzledly. The last time you got married, Steve and I had a good chat with him, so we gave that guy an alarm and told him to press it if there was anything, and I would pull someone over to help him, Tony explained casually. Then thinking that blade was still asking for help, he said again, Mei, let's not talk about it for now. He may be in danger. After all, he is your friend. Go and save that guy. I like him very much. Mei Gan was speechless. Why is there so much trouble? Can't he handle it himself? Is it necessary for me to save him? But Tony, Banner and everyone are watching, so I can't not go, otherwise it will make Mei Gan look a little ruthless. Then go over and make soy sauce. That guy can't die anyway. Thinking of this, Mei Gan's mental power searched for Blade's position. After a few breaths, a blue formation appeared on the ground. On the other side, Blade was kneeling on one knee, with blood flowing from one foot. Even so, Blade's face was still expressionless. In front, an old man with long white hair was kneeling on the ground, and a man with long black hair was beating the old man with punches. On the steps, a bald man with glasses was holding a gun and staring at him. On the second floor, some gunmen in uniforms and helmets were holding guns, with more than a dozen red dots facing Blade. Point, can you understand me? Blade, what do you think? The black-haired man kept mumbling, then spread his hands and asked. 3 things. First, I knew it the moment you surrendered to them. Second, this is not a dud. Bang dang dang dang. Blade hadn't finished speaking yet and was about to press the remote control in his hand, but the bald man standing above directly knocked the remote control out of his hand. Huh, now it's a dud. The black-haired man picked up the remote control on the ground and smiled a little proudly. However, at this moment, a blue magic circle appeared under Blade's feet and head. Everyone looked at the sudden change with surprise on their faces. At the moment the magic circle appeared, Blade, who was kneeling on the ground, finally showed a change on his face. A smile appeared on his face, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. The third thing is, I'm not fighting alone like before. I have friends. Bang, a white light flashed. A figure suddenly appeared beside Blade. It was Mei Gan. Hey, Blade, are you welcoming me? This gift is really big. Mei Gan looked at Blade, who was kneeling on one knee, and joked. Mei, please. Blade didn't answer, just looked at the people in front and said. At this time, the bald man, who realized something was wrong, immediately ordered the people on the second floor loudly, shoot quickly. The bald man first picked up the gun in his hand and pointed it at Mei Gan. Mei Gan frowned, waved his right hand, and a huge blue magic shield appeared in front of him, blocking all the bullets outside. I just arrived, and there are so many bullets to welcome me. It's really exciting. Mei Gan stared at the vampires in front of him. The blue magic shield was spinning rapidly like a whirlpool. From the outside, Mei Gan looked so mysterious in the eyes of those vampires. Fuck, who is this guy? Why has Blade never mentioned him? The black-haired man grabbed his hair with both hands. You idiot, Whitler said sarcastically. Chapter 110, Sacrifice. In the dark basement, the gunshots that echoed through the basement have dissipated. The bald man and the black-haired vampire are hiding behind many uniformed vampires. The arrogant expression on the bald vampire's face has long disappeared. The 2 guys without uniforms are looking at Mei Gan, who is holding up Blade with fear on their faces. Mei Gan holds Blade with one hand and reaches out to the old man with the other hand. The magic in his hand surges, and in an instant, Whistler is absorbed by Mei Gan to his side. Take good care of this guy. Mei Gan gave the blade in his hand to Whistler, and then walked towards the vampires. Whistler held Blade in a daze, his eyes always looking at Mei Gan's back. Who is he? You never told me that you know such a powerful friend. After a moment, Whistler came back to his senses, and looked at Blade meaningfully. You didn't ask. Blade's face regained its coldness. He is still old and difficult to lead. He has his own ideas and secrets. Whistler shook his head, like an old father seeing a rebellious son. In front of him, Mei Gan walked slowly forward step by step. Fuck, you bastard. Stop, don't come over. Looking at the mysterious Chinese who were slowly approaching him and others, the black-haired man took a few steps back in fear and shouted at Mei Gan. "It's you, the superhero, the Ash Mage." The bald man took off his glasses and said timidly. Mei Gan didn't say anything and just approached them. "We have no contact or feud with you superheroes. Why do you want to help this so-called daywalker?" The bald man gritted his teeth and said that he could have killed this troublesome vampire killer, but he didn't expect that this guy would actually invite the Ash Mage. "TSK TSK TSK, you disgusting guys. Since Blade has called me here, I can only let you destroy you. Who told you to emit a disgusting stench?" Mei Gan pinched his nose, as if there was a stench here. "Arsehole." The bald man could only be furious. He didn't dare to step forward, so he could only vent his anger. "Go, kill him." The bald man loudly ordered the uniformed man in front of him. As soon as he finished speaking, the bald man turned around and ran away. Seeing the bald man running away, the black-haired man hurriedly followed him and ran inside. The group of uniformed gunmen now only had electric batons in their hands. After hearing the bald man's order, they all hesitated for a moment and then raised the electric batons in their hands and rushed towards Mei Gan. Sacrifice. Mei Gan ignored these thugs, but a thought came to his mind, and a light shield burning with red flames enveloped Mei Gan. One by one, the thugs rushed to Mei Gan's surroundings. Then they were corroded by the burning flames, and the fiery red flames spread to the thugs. After a few breaths, countless flames filled the air, and those thugs were instantly burned to ashes by the flames. He deserved his name as the Ash Magician. Sacrifice. The skill of the demon hunter Illidan Stormridge, the hero of the Night Elves. It surrounds the host in a ball of flames, burning the surrounding targets within a range of 1 meter. At this time, the bald man and the black-haired man had not run a few steps. His thugs had already disappeared from this world. The two looked back and were immediately scared to death. If the vampire still had a soul, they turned around and used all their strength to escape inside. "Still want to escape?" Mei Gan sneered, and his body disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, he was already in front of the two. In an instant. No, the two looked at the figure suddenly appearing in front of them, covered in flames. There was no time to stop. They could only watch themselves quickly approach the range of the flame attack and roared unwillingly. However, the flames seemed to have the speed of lightning. In the blink of an eye, they went to the two people. The flames spread, and the red flame spread to the two people. Then the two turned into a ball of black ash and dissipated on the spot. Under the stairs, Whistler was stunned. He had been at the hands of those vampires for a long time, so he didn't recognize Mei Gan, the superhero that people talked about. "Blade, if you have his help every time you take action, those disgusting vampires will soon be extinct." Blade glanced at Whistler indifferently, then patted his trouser pocket and said calmly, "I don't have money." "Do you have money? It's very expensive to ask him to take action once. I was just saved by you from the hands of the vampire. Where can I get the money? If you want, I can ask my daughter for some." Blade didn't reply, but just looked at Whistler in silence. I didn't expect that the calm vampire hunter Whistler would also joke. It seems that he has been messed up by vampires during this period. "Let's go. Let's find a blood pool. Your foot needs to be repaired." Holding Blade, Whistler bent down, picked up a gun, pointed it inside and said, "In front." Mei Gan's figure had disappeared, and he had walked deeper. "You really don't have any money? You don't have any capital either?" Blade said again at this time. "No." Whistler didn't know what Blade was going to do. He kept talking about money. "Then we'll be in trouble later. Don't throw me into the blood pool when you find it. I want to wait until Mei has vented her anger before I go for treatment." Blade spread his hands calmly and said, "What do you mean? You have to pay Mei to come here this time. It must be at least 200,000. If Mei gets angry later, I'll be beaten up." Whistler was a little confused. "It costs 200,000 to come here and attack once. This is too expensive. It's cheap. I heard that several of them have sold their bodies and are working every day." Blade explained, as if he saw what Whistler was thinking. "I should be fine, old man. It's okay. Mei will beat me up at most. After he finishes beating me, remember to throw me into the blood pool." The two walked slowly inside, and Blade's dark face said without a trace of expression, It looked like he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. That's good. Anyway, as long as there is a blood pool, you will recover quickly. It's just a beating. Just bear with it, and it will pass. Blade looked at Whistler beside him speechlessly. Even if what you said was the truth, just think about it in your heart. Why did you say it in front of me? Do you think I can't hear it? I just have facial paralysis, not ear paralysis. Hearing that he was fine, Whistler breathed a sigh of relief, but the expression of the paralyzed guy next to him became a little subtle. Fortunately, my old bones are saved. Blade is strong and not afraid of being beaten at all. And inside, Mei Gan was standing in front of a group of vampires. The sacrifice skill that enveloped him had long been dispersed by Mei Gan. Behind those uniformed thugs, there stood a female vampire and a bald vampire. The bald vampire's face was full of blue veins, hunched over, and a pair of blue hands with sharp nails looked at Mei Gan, who broken with some doubt. That look was very disgusting. Mei Gan was looking at the bald vampire with disgust on his face. Chapter 111. Why didn't I draw this skill earlier? At night, outside the vampire's fortress, on a wall, a vampire with a bald head and a disgusting face was squatting there, looking at the uniformed thugs patrolling below the fortress with greedy eyes. And at this moment, perhaps he couldn't stand the food swimming under his nose, or perhaps it was the hatred for his father, so the vampire couldn't help but open his disgusting big mouth that had become 3 petals. With a sudden movement of his body, the vampire pounced down like a cheetah hunting prey and pounced on the uniformed thugs below. Not long after, the patrolling uniformed thugs fell to the ground one by one, and the vampire was sucking the neck of the last thug, enjoying their blood. Licking the blood left on the edge of his lips, the bald vampire took a step and ran into the fortress. Every patrol station he passed by would always leave a pile of corpses that had been sucked clean of blood. He ran inside at a fast speed, and at the Blade, putting away the gun that was smoking. Whistler looked at the lawyer's body on the ground and supported Blade to continue looking for the blood pool that could restore Blade. Not long after, the two found the blood pool they were looking for. Do you want to go down now or? Whistler asked Blade again. Wait until Mei comes. I don't want to soak in blood twice. The smell makes me sick. Blade sat down against the wall with a paralyzed face and said lightly, okay, I'll listen to you. Whistler gave the weapon he found on the ground below back to Blade and then sat down next to him. On the other side, Mei Gan may have noticed something and looked at the ugly vampire in front of him with a playful look, and his figure disappeared from the spot. Who is he and where is he? The vampire elder was alert and looked around, trying to find Mei Gan's figure. Not long after Mei Gan disappeared, the figure of Nomak appeared on the monitor hanging on the wall. It was the vampire with the same bald head. His son. When the vampire elder saw his son, fear filled his eyes. He stopped looking for Mei Gan and rushed to the helipad, wanting to escape. Finally, the vampire elder breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the helicopter outside. Of course, accidents always happen inadvertently. At the glass, pieces of steel plates were falling rapidly, trapping them here. The vampire elder was angry, and the fear in his eyes was constantly magnifying. He turned his head and looked at his daughter Nisha. At the door, Nisha played with the ring in her hand and looked at her ruthless father calmly. I reset the password. We are locked here, Nisha said calmly. Are you crazy? He will kill both of us, the vampire elder roared loudly. Nisha looked at the ring in her hand and responded calmly, yes. Do you think it's tragic? You didn't die at the hands of the enemy, but at the hands of your own children. Tap tap. A sound of footsteps was heard, and Nomak appeared at the door. He swaggered towards the two of them. Father. Nomak walked towards his father. In the air, Mei Gan was floating there, watching the bloody plot of the son killing his father and the brother killing his sister, with only indifference in his eyes. Anyway, they were all disgusting and smelly vampires, and it would be better if they were all dead. Not long after, the bodies of 2 vampires were abandoned on the ground. Nomak glanced at the bodies on the ground and was about to leave when Mei Gan's voice sounded in the air. Do you want to leave? I think you should turn into ashes too. The smell you emit is worse than that of your sister and other vampires, and it is more disgusting. Who? Nomak looked around, trying to find Mei Gan. I'm on top. Disgusting mutant vampire Mei Gan was speechless when he saw Namek spinning in circles. Did he mutate and his ears became crooked? He couldn't even hear the direction of the sound at such a close distance. Sure enough, all mutations have to pay a price. Hearing Mei Gan's reminder, Namek raised his head suddenly and saw Mei Gan floating in the air. His pupils shrank suddenly and he looked at Mei Gan with some doubt. Don't face me directly, I want to vomit. Mei Gan covered his eyes with his hands and turned his head away as if he didn't want to see Namek's appearance. Fuck. Namek cursed, his face full of anger, his big 3-petal mouth, and his mouthparts were waving randomly. Namek was full of anger. He knew his appearance, which was not very good looking, but it was wrong for you to mock me in person like this. Although you look very strong, you still have to fight to know. Namek moved his body and stepped on the wall in front of him, trying to use the wall to send himself to Mei Gan's side and grab Mei Gan from the bottom. Oh wow. Pretty smart. Mei Gan teased and refused to see Namek approaching him. The smell was really bad. Mei Gan's figure flashed and disappeared in front of Namek. When he appeared again, he came to the door and quietly watched Namek coming down from the air. And Namek stepped on the ground with one foot and rushed towards Mei Gan again like a cheetah, with his sharp nails shining with blue cold light, grabbing Mei Gan's neck. However, Mei Gan's figure flashed again and then disappeared again. He appeared not far behind Namek and returned to the room again. Namek lost his target again and turned his head to look for it. Hey, mutated guy, I'm behind you. Mei Gan waited for a few seconds and seeing that Namek had no intention of turning his head, he quickly reminded him, if you have the guts, don't run away, you coward, fight me head on. Ah. Namek turned around with a face full of anger and roared. His 3-petal mouth kept opening and closing. Yeah, it's boring. I have a magic that I have wanted to use for a long time, but I just learned it after the Big Apple City. Anyway, you are not a human, so it should be no problem to use it on you. Mei Gan seemed to be talking to himself, and then he stretched out his right index finger and pointed at Namek. Alchemy. A ball of golden light emerged, drew a parabola, and fell on the top of Namek's head. The golden light ball quickly merged into Namek's body, and a burst of golden light spread from his head to his whole body, turning him directly into a golden man. That was the color of the rich. Mei Gan, the instigator, immediately lit up his eyes and stared straight at him. Ah! A shrill scream came from the golden Namek's mouth. But it only lasted less than half a second before it stopped abruptly. Then, Namek was like a golden liquid that continued to condense and gather until it turned into an irregular gold nugget with a diameter of about half a meter, lying quietly on the ground. Damn, why didn't I draw this skill earlier? This is too rich. It can be called the rich gold in the skill world. If I had drawn it earlier, I could have turned all the aliens that day into gold nuggets. How much money did I lose? Mei Gan picked up the gold nugget and kept wailing. Chapter 112. Sunglasses must be. Inside the vampire's fortress, Mei Gan touched the half-meter high gold nugget and wanted to cry. He thought of the huge long worm, how much money it would turn into, and the skull giant lizards destroyed by the magma. That's also money. Fortunately, there is still the Age of Ultron in the future. I decided not to interfere with the birth of Ultron in the future. I want to turn all Ultron into gold nuggets. That's not getting rich. Please call me the Midas Touch from now on. Thinking about it, Mei Gan showed a greedy smile. After a while, Mei Gan woke up from the fantasy, then wiped the corners of his mouth, looked around, and saw that there was no living creature, so he quickly threw the gold nugget into the system space. Don't show off your wealth. This is what the old man often taught in his previous life. Mei Gan really implemented it to the end. Even if he has hundreds of millions of dollars now, he has never spent it lavishly. Alchemy. The ultimate move of the neutral hero Goblin Alchemist. Any enemy unit can be melted into a gold nugget, causing the enemy unit to lose life instantly. The usage interval is 2 hours. No, how can the usage interval be 2 hours? Mei Gan wiped his eyes and looked at the skill introduction in the corner of the progress bar again. It's true, Mei Gan is not dazzled. Then my plan to surpass Tony and become a rich man is lost. Dog system, why change the usage interval to such a long time? Mei Gan looked depressed and glanced at the gold nuggets in the system space. Fortunately, at least it can still be used. 2 hours is 2 hours. At most, circle Ultron and transform one every 2 hours. I have plenty of time. Am I not just a part-time worker? To comfort himself, Mei Gan straightened his face. He casually burned the 2 vampire corpses on the ground to ashes. Then he sorted out the expression just now, and Mei Gan raised his leg and walked towards where the paralyzed man and Blade were. Blade and the other man were still sitting there quietly waiting for Mei Gan's arrival. Mei Gan came to the blood pool and looked at the 2 salted fish on the second floor in confusion. Didn't they say they were going to find a blood pool to recover from their injuries? Why are they still sitting there in a daze? Mei, you're done. Blade saw Mei Gan coming back and pulled Whistler to stand up a little stiffly. He had to be stiff because who knew when Mei would ask for money. He was ready to lie down and get beaten, and he wouldn't get slapped in the face if he lay down. Why haven't you treated your injuries yet? Mei Gan asked in confusion. We're waiting for you to come back, and the treatment will be quick anyway. Blade was supported by Whistler and walked down to the first floor. Mei Gan looked at Blade as if he was a fool. Didn't you feel the pool of blood flowing from the hole in your leg? Hurry up and jump into the blood pool to wash. We'll be back soon. Mei Gan shook his head. It seemed that Blade was obsessed with killing vampires. In fact, Blade didn't need to be so nervous. Mei Gan didn't take his $200,000 seriously. He just got a big piece of gold and had forgotten to ask Blade for money. Now Mei Gan just wanted to go back and let Norman sell the gold for $. Seeing that Mei Gan didn't mention the money, Blade breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that he wouldn't be beaten today. Then Blade suddenly jumped into the blood pool in front of him. A few seconds later, Blade walked out of the blood pool covered in blood. The hole on his leg had recovered, leaving only a hole in his pants. Mei Gan saw that there was nothing for him to do, so he said to Blade, there is nothing for me to do anymore. Do you want to leave with me, or go back by yourself? We can go back by ourselves. Mei, thank you. Blade quickly refused the proposal to go back with Mei Gan. Just kidding. Mei just forgot to ask for money, and if he followed Mei, when Mei remembered the beating, he couldn't escape it. Who said he was poor? Let's get away from Mei first, and then go back to collect some money. Even if Mei suddenly thinks of it, it's okay. Blade praised his wit, but he didn't know that he was fighting with himself. Mei Gan didn't even think about that little money. Looking at Blade, who seemed to be a little sick, Mei Gan shook his head and planned to stay away from this guy in the future. Goodbye. Mei Gan waved to the 2 of them. Then the teleportation started and disappeared in front of the 2 in the blink of an eye. Dude, do you have some misunderstandings about him? He didn't ask you for money. Whistler walked to Blade and said to him, I'm also very confused. I guess he forgot. Let's leave here quickly and go back to collect money. If Mei remembers it and comes back, it will be troublesome. Blade put the sword in his hand behind his back and said, then go back. Whistler handed a pair of sunglasses to Blade. Seeing the sunglasses, Blade's eyes flashed with joy. No wonder I always feel that something is missing. It turns out to be my beloved sunglasses. I can throw away anything, but I must have sunglasses. Wearing sunglasses, Blade with a cold face took Whistler away from the vampire's lair. On the other side, Mei Gan's figure reappeared in the tavern. The people who had not left were still waiting for Mei Gan in the tavern. Seeing Mei Gan coming back, Tony hurriedly stepped forward and asked Mei Gan, Mei, how is it? What happened to that cool guy? Everyone looked at Mei Gan curiously, just like listening to a story. And little Sissy even climbed onto Mei Gan, who had just sat down, her big eyes full of curiosity. Mei Gan looked at the excited little Sissy and felt happy. It turned out that the little guy liked to listen to my story. I finally found something that the little guy liked. Mei Gan will definitely tell the little guy his glorious story of saving the world every day in the future. It seems that I only took action a few times, and I will finish it in a few days. Shouldn't I make up a few more? He didn't see that little Sissy was seeing that the little guy in her arms was yawning, looking drowsy. I think as long as I hum a few songs or a few gentle voices, she can fall asleep peacefully. Mei Gan cleared his throat and then casually told them what happened tonight. Noticing little Ceci leaning on his arms, Mei Gan also emphasized how he had taken action. At this moment, little Ceci had fallen asleep in Mei Gan's arms, but Mei Gan was still describing his image without noticing anything. A moment later, when Mei Gan finished telling the story of tonight, he saw that the little guy in his arms had fallen asleep. Unexpectedly, this little guy actually took his father's story as a lullaby. Mei Gan hugged the little guy in his arms with a bit of laughter and tears, and then handed the little guy to Audrey, who was walking forward. Audrey took the little guy, patted her back gently, and then said to Mei Gan, "You stay for a while. I'll take the baby back first." Okay. Mei Gan gestured, looked at Audrey's back as she left, and chuckled twice. Mei Gan came to Norman, and asked him softly, "Norman, I have a gold nugget, can you help me sell it?" Norman Osborn was stunned when he heard this, and looked at Mei Gan with some doubt. "If you have a gold nugget, why don't you go to the gold shop to sell it? Why are you looking for me? Are you kidding me?" Chapter 113 Untitled. Block. In front of the Veteran Tavern, Mei Gan walked beside Norman with some excitement, heading towards his home. He was going to give the gold nugget to Norman and let him find a buyer. By then, Mei Gan's wallet would have some more money. No wonder he was so excited. Soon, Mei Gan left with Norman's surprised eyes. Norman had never seen such a pure and large gold nugget. Humming a little tune, Mei Gan walked towards home. The next day, in the morning, after breakfast, Mei Gan sat in the living room of the physical therapy center, drinking coffee made by Kato. Mei Gan had just made an appointment with Tony and Norman to discuss the base plan for Skull Island with him. Not long after, Tony walked into the physical therapy center wearing a pair of sunglasses and a great suit. "Mei, what do you want to talk to me about?" Tony sat opposite Mei Gan, took the coffee made by Kato and asked directly. He still had to go back to upgrade his armor. Recently, he had some concerns about the quantum armor and wanted to put it into action so that he could wear it as soon as possible. Since Banner and Johnny helped, Tony's armor has been making rapid progress. A new version of the armor will appear in a few days. "Don't worry, wait Norman, I have something good to tell you." Mei Gan took a sip of coffee and said leisurely. Tony didn't answer, but shrugged his shoulders indifferently. Anyway, he had told his artificial intelligence butler Jarvis about his idea. Even if he forgot, Jarvis would remind him. A few minutes later, Norman hurried into the living room. There were beads of sweat on his forehead, and it was obvious that he had rushed here in a hurry. "What's the matter?" "Mei, I was in a meeting just now." Norman sat down on the chair and asked Mei Gan. Seeing that Norman had also arrived, Mei Gan took the laptop next to the table, facing the screen to the two of them, and opened the photos taken by the photographer Weaver, and pushed them to the two of them. Then he introduced it. "This is an island surrounded by storms. I mentioned it to you last time. Now I'll show you the beautiful scenery there." Mei Gan opened the pictures one by one and showed them to the two. "The scenery is really nice. Mei, do you want to develop this place?" Tony asked Mei Gan in confusion. "Develop? How is that possible? This will be our base. I want you to build a few villas on it for our own use. There is also a big guy inside." Mei Gan rolled his eyes. "Am I so greedy for money?" Then he opened a picture of King Kong and said to the two, "Oh, this guy's body is even bigger than the ones that destroyed a street in the Big Apple last time." Tony stared at the picture of King Kong and said, "How about it? This will be our secret base in the future. I will set up some means on this island to hide the island. If I'm not here, you can hide on the island if you have any problems." Mei Gan told Tony and Norman his thoughts. Mei Gan was mainly worried about Uncle Khan. After all, Mei Gan was often away. Although Uncle Khan had a protective ring on him, who knew if someone would use a honey trap to get close to Uncle Khan and steal the protective ring? Uncle Khan was a pervert. Mei Gan saw through it. Besides, he had known these guys for so long, even a pig would have feelings for him, so it was okay to tell them. After all, they were all friends who knew each other well. "Mei, we still have to go and see the site to know how to design it." Norman had not spoken a word. In fact, he agreed with this matter. Following Mei Gan, the security guarantee was indeed the best. "Leave the design to me. Take me to see it in the afternoon." Tony blinked his eyes, touched his two mustaches and said, "Okay, Come to me after lunch. I'll take you to see it. And call Ben and Johnny by the way. Steve has not come back because of a mission, so tell him next time. Mei Gan closed his notebook and made a decision. Time passed quickly, and it was afternoon in the blink of an eye. Not long after lunch, Mei Gan saw Tony and Norman walking into the flower shop with Banner and Johnny, who looked puzzled. Mei, why did you ask Tony to call us here? They won't tell you when you ask them. Johnny couldn't help asking. You'll know in a moment. Mei Gan smiled mysteriously at the two. When the villa is built, the two workers will have to sign a contract with Tony again, and they will never return from the abyss of working. Audrey, are you going? Skull Island. Mei Gan turned to look at Audrey, who was playing with little Sissy. I'm not going. You guys go. Audrey shook her head and said, Dad, I want to go. I want to go. I want to see the big black guy. But little Sissy raised her hand excitedly and shouted to Mei Gan. It seems that she still remembers King Kong. Okay, baby, then you go with Dad and Uncles. Mei Gan picked up the little guy and said softly, let's go. Go find the big black guy. Even little Sissy knew about it, but we didn't know it yet. Banner and Johnny stared at Mei Gan. Little Sissy, come to Godfather. Godfather is holding you. Your father is going to use magic at this time. Tony came forward and took little Sissy from Mei Gan's arms without giving Mei Gan a chance to react. Mei Gan also let this guy do what he wanted. He will be needed later. Ignore him now. Seeing that everyone was gathered, Mei Gan had an idea and everyone disappeared in front of everyone. Skull Island. Porcupine and Brown Bear were having fun in the lake. Since Mei Gan left them on Skull Island, this is their happiest time. They kept praying in their hearts that Mei Gan would forget them here. King Kong was sitting on the top of a mountain, looking at the sun in the distance listlessly. Since the skull giant lizard was destroyed, although there were porcupines and brown bears to accompany it, it was okay for a while. After a long time, it felt that its bones were rusty and it just wanted to find an evenly matched opponent to fight. And it couldn't beat the porcupine and the brown bear. If it fought, it would be beaten. It's not sick. King Kong grabbed a handful of bananas and swallowed them in one gulp. Now he only eats and sleeps, and he feels fat. At this moment, a blue light emerged from the porcupine's body. In the blink of an eye, the figures of Mei Gan and others appeared on the porcupine. Angror the porcupine and the brown bear sensed the breath of their master and shouted a little lost, as if welcoming Mei Gan's arrival. But to Mei Gan, it sounded like an unwelcome meaning. Mei Gan ignored them, just glared at them, and then led everyone to the land, circled by Mei Gan. I will deal with them next time. Today is a hurry. If I delay any longer, it will be night. King Kong saw Mei Gan's figure and rushed down from the top of the mountain and rushed towards Mei Gan and others. A few days later, next to the mysterious tower, the little guy was laughing and sitting on Adam. Adam was carrying the little guy on his back and walking around the street. Mei Gan looked at the little guy who was riding Adam excitedly with a look of joy on his face. Unexpectedly, the little guy likes the summoned beasts that have always been there. Mei Gan really didn't pay attention to it before. If he hadn't happened to go to pick up Shan and his uncle today, Mei Gan really didn't know that the little guy likes to ride on Adam and the others. Humph, it happens that all the stories of the past few days have been told. There are not many other things, but there are still many summoned beasts. Now little Sissy will definitely keep yelling for her daddy. Not long after, a big-nosed Chinese man with black framed glasses walked over here holding a little girl with two pigtails, and Shan received a message from the editor. It will be on the shelves tomorrow at noon. Chapter 114. Remarks on the release. Subscription request. Before I knew it, my first book was published. As a newbie, after publishing the book, I was quite touched when I saw the recommendation tickets and monthly tickets from readers. This is also my motivation to continue writing. And the readers who rewarded me. Thank you very much for your award. Thank you. This book will be published around 12 o'clock tomorrow. I'm begging all readers to subscribe here. For those who have been supporting me, please come back and subscribe. Thank you. Chapter 115. Uncle Long. Block. Mei Gan looked at the big-nosed Chinese who was walking towards him, and Mei Gan was stunned. Isn't this Uncle Long? Which movie of Uncle Long has made it into Marvel? Mei Gan was a little confused, but still walked forward, stretched out his hand to Uncle Long and said, "Hello, Long. I'm Mei Gan. Uncle Gan asked me to pick you up. He is giving someone a massage." "Hello, Mr. Mei. I'm Bob. You can call me by my Chinese name Chen Long. Thank you for saving my niece last time. It just so happens that I came here today to thank you properly." Bob was a little restrained. This was his first time to come into such close contact with a superpower. Although he often single-handedly defeated criminal gangs, ordinary people would lower their status for mysterious things or people. "Then I will call you Uncle Long. Uncle Long. Just call me Zio Khan. I feel more intimate, and Uncle Khan is like my father in my heart, and you are Uncle Khan's good friend, so Uncle Long doesn't have to be so polite. After all, we are all Chinese, and it is right to help each other," Mei Gan said with a smile. "Long time no see, Shan," Mei Gan said to Chen Shan beside Uncle Long. "Long time no see, famous magician." Chen Shan smiled and waved. "Bob, look, such a big black dog. I want to ride a black dog too." The little girl in Uncle Long's arms suddenly pointed at Adam and little Sissy, who came out from the side and shouted. Uncle Long was about to say something, but the little girl was already yelling. The little girl looked at Adam excitedly. Her body was struggling on Uncle Long's body, trying to get off and run to Adam. But how could Uncle Long do as she wished? After all, such a big wolf, who knows if it will bite a stranger like her? On Adam's body, little Sissy heard the little girl's voice, looked at the little girl on Uncle Long's body with some curiosity, biting her little finger and staring at her straight. "Uncle Long, this is..." Mei Gan looked at the little girl on Uncle Long's body and felt a little familiar. "This is my neighbor's daughter. She happened to go out for something today, so she asked me to help take care of her for the afternoon." Uncle Long smiled honestly. "Neighbor, girl, this is the spy next door. No wonder it's so familiar. It's a comedy." Now Uncle Long is a retired agent. If you don't know him, you will definitely think he is a Chinese teacher or a Chinese driver. You would never think that he is an elite agent who has experienced many battles. Uncle Long's appearance is too deceptive. "It's okay, Uncle Long. This is my daughter and my pet. It won't bite anyone randomly. It's very obedient. You can let her play with my daughter," Mei Gan said to Uncle Long with a smile. Then walked towards little Sissy and said to her, "Nyangsu, say hello to Uncle Chen and Aunt Chanshan." "Hello Uncle Chen, Aunt Chanshan. I remember you, Aunt Chanshan," little Sissy called to the two in Chinese. "Mei, this is little Sissy." Little Sissy can actually speak. How is this possible? Chen Shan looked at little Sissy in amazement. It hasn't been long since they separated. Little Sissy can speak. "Hello, little Nyangsu." Uncle Long didn't know why his niece was so surprised. He just secretly glared at Chen Shan. "What do you mean by being able to speak? Do you still think other people's children are dumb? Can't speak, it's impolite." "Uncle Long, let's talk while walking. People think I'm impolite if I stay at the door all the time. Give me the little one," Mei Gan said to Uncle Long as if jokingly, then took the little girl in her arms and put her on Adam's still spacious back. "Little Sissy, you have to take good care of the little sister, okay?" Mei Gan then touched little Sissy's little head. "I know, Dad." Little Sissy smiled sweetly. "Uncle Long, let's go in. Uncle Khan is still waiting inside." Okay. Uncle Long saw that the little girl was sitting steadily on the wolf's back, and the giant wolf was also very obedient and supported the two of them and walked slowly. He was relieved. Nyangsu is actually not even 1 year old yet. She will be 1 year old in a few weeks. It may be because of me that she grows up very fast and learns things quickly, so Chen Shan is so surprised. After all, it has only been a month or two since we last met. Mei Gan led the two to the physical therapy center and then explained to Uncle Long and Chen Shan. "It's really amazing. I'm also well informed, but I didn't expect there are such capable people like you." Listening to Mei Gan's explanation, Uncle Long felt that his vision was too low. "It was also by chance that I became what I'm now. Uncle Long's experience is admirable. You are immortal." Mei Gan looked at Uncle Long and said admiringly, "What is there for people to admire about me?" Uncle Long shook his head and smiled. He was not surprised at all that Mei Gan knew his identity. It would be surprising if he didn't know. "Then is her body okay?" Chen Shan interrupted and asked. It's okay. Uncle Kyan and I have checked it. Since Brother Kyan has checked it, there must be no problem, Uncle Long said. It seems that Uncle Long trusts and respects Uncle Kyan's medical skills. I heard from Uncle Kyan that Uncle Long just retired. Uncle Long can come here more often, when he is free. Uncle Kyan should have only you as his friend, Mei Gan said, changing the subject. Yes, I have worked hard all my life, and I'm about to retire. I will definitely come here often in the future. Uncle Long sighed involuntarily when he thought of his career. That's good. I will tell the security guard at the door later. You can come directly in when you come here in the future. The few people chatted casually and soon arrived at the door of the physiotherapy center. Seeing Uncle Long looking at the little girl worriedly, Mei Gan smiled and said, it's okay, Uncle Long. You can go find Uncle Kyan. I'm here. Thank you, Zio Kyan. Uncle Long was not polite after hearing this. He went up to tell the little girl a few words, and then let Chen Shan in to see Uncle Kyan first. Afternoon. Little Sissy, who had become good friends with the little girl Nora, was unwilling to let Nora leave, and was looking at Mei Gan aggrievedly. Little Sissy also met a good friend for the first time. In the past, Gwen and the others were too old, and there was no way, because there was a big generation gap. It was only an afternoon, and the two people who were separated were like they were going to die. One was about to cry, and the other was struggling desperately on Uncle Long's body, not wanting to go back. Mei Gan and Uncle Long had no choice but to agree to bring Nora over to play again tomorrow. The two gave up. Mei Gan sent the three people away and went to the security booth to give instructions to Alexander, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, before taking little Sissy back to the flower shop. Dad, when I have time, can I ask Sister Gwen and the others to take me to play with Sister Nora? Sister Nora just invited me to her house to play, and there is a cute little pig in her house. On the way, little Sissy suddenly asked, why do you want Sister Gwen to take you there? Mei Gan asked with some doubt. The friendship of the little guys is established very quickly. Because mom has to look after the store, dad has to go to Henny Daj's place recently. I can let Sister Gwen and the others take me there during my break, said little Sissy obediently. Of course, but you have to bring the little chicken. Mei Gan pinched his little face and said, thank you, Dad, you are so nice. Please subscribe. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Little Sissy's Backing. Morning. Skull Island. On the beach under Mei Gan's circle. Countless robots are working in full swing, and the outlines of villas can be vaguely seen appearing in front of Mei Gan. King Khan came from a distance carrying a large stone slab, followed by two depressed beasts, the porcupine and the brown bear. Unlike the excited King Kong, it was a major blow to them who had lost their freedom. They had experienced a period of free life, and were suddenly caught by their master Mei Gan to work, which made them lose their spirits. But King Kong was different. He was happier than anyone else to have something to do. He was a beast that could not stop. He was happy to use work to exert his energy. HMPH, you are wilting after doing some work. Do you want to go back to the pet space and stay there? Don't want to come out? Looking at the two fools he summoned, Mei Gan was furious. Looking at the hard-working King Kong, the fire in his heart became even stronger. Hearing Mei Gan's angry voice, the two beasts couldn't help but tremble, and hurriedly forced themselves to cheer up and work harder. It seems that no matter whether it is a human or an animal, they have to knock from time to see how efficient it is now. Mei Gan was satisfied and looked at the villa complex that was being built bit by bit again. He was very satisfied in his heart. It seemed that Tony's efficiency was as satisfactory as always. Apart from other things, it was really fast. I don't know if he was fast in other things, but it should be fast. In just over 2 weeks, the robot workers and the drawings were delivered to Skull Island. The main reason was that the robots were a bit troublesome. In fact, the drawings had been shown to them a long time ago. Recently, Mei Gan would come to Skull Island from time to time, not to see if there were other large animals on the island to make trouble, but mainly to see if these 3 giant beasts made trouble. How could the other giant creatures on the island not know that there were 3 big guys here, and how could they come here to die? It was just worried that these 2 fools would do bad things. After all, they were 2 giant beasts with bad brains, and they yearned for a free life. Mei Gan felt that his summoned beasts all had some problems. The little chicken was a foodie, the red dragon was a fat otaku, and these 2 idiots were not to be mentioned. I don't know if they were injured when they were summoned. Mei Gan shook his head and ignored the 2 idiots. Seeing King Kong working hard, Mei Gan was very satisfied. Sure enough, it was good that he was not summoned. At least his brain was not stupid. The base was built with the blueprints and construction robots provided by Tony, and Norman provided the materials. These materials were all top quality materials that Norman bought several large ships and transported from various parts of the United States. It was that Steve hadn't come back yet, otherwise he would definitely come to help wearing a safety helmet and carrying tools. Banner and Johnny wanted to come to help. Banner came last time and said that he wanted to turn into Hulk to help with the hard labor and mortgage the house rent. However, he was pulled away by Tony. Tony said that he had a new idea and wanted his help. Banner had to follow Tony with a reluctant look on his face. Mei Gan thought about staying here until the afternoon and then going back. Today was Halloween. Mei Gan had no interest in it, but little Sissy was very excited and wanted to have a party on the street in the block. This proposal was unanimously agreed by Tony and others. Then Tony invited a company to decorate the block. Mei Gan thought, since the little guy was happy, he would let them do it, and then make a few monsters to set off the atmosphere at night. Block. Little Sissy was holding the little chicken and running into the turret. Sister Gwen. Little Sissy patted the door of the turret with her little hands. Click. The door opened. Gwen looked at little Sissy outside the door and asked, Little Sissy, what's wrong? Since the little guy had a watch on his hand, Gwen and others were no longer afraid of the little guy approaching. Gwen and Peter had been discussing something secretly. It seemed that Peter told them about his identity as Spider-Man, so they often gathered together excitedly. Sister Gwen, can you take me to Nora's house? I want to invite Nora to come to the party tonight. Little Sissy looked at Gwen expectantly and said, of course, Little Sissy. How could Gwen refuse the little girl's request? She just wanted to take her to the next block, which was not far away anyway. Since Nora came here with Uncle Long for the first time, the 2 little girls have always had a good relationship. It is often Nora who comes here, or Gwen and Danny take the little girl to Nora's place. It is also a coincidence that Danny is actually a classmate of Nora's sister Fallon, and the 2 of them get along well. So the 2 little girls often play together. Their relationship is really good. Gwen went back to say hello to Peter and the others, and then took little Sissy to the flower shop, and took the little girl to the next block. Although she often went there recently, she also had to tell Audrey. Audrey, I'll take little Sissy to Nora's place. Gwen walked into the flower shop and said to Audrey, who was taking care of the flowers. In the United States, people are addressed by name, regardless of age. Except for their parents and grandparents, they rarely use honorifics, even for their brothers and sisters. Audrey looked up and smiled. Okay, you should be careful. After all, she had been there several times, and because of Tony and his friends, the security of these blocks was the best in the United States. Besides, little Sissy was holding the little chicken and had the amulet given by his father. So Audrey was actually relieved. Thank you, Mommy. Bye, Mommy. Little Sissy smiled sweetly, waved to Audrey, and followed Gwen to the next block. In the block where Uncle Long was, Uncle Long seemed to have encountered trouble, but it should be a small matter for him. In the block where Uncle Long was with 2 little guys, rushing back to his girlfriend's place. The block, because today is Halloween, the block is full of children wearing masks. One by one, they shuttled through the streets of the block and took candy from adults. Uncle Long led 2 people to the door of his girlfriend Gillian's house. Gillian was distributing candy to the children passing by with little Nora. At this time, Gwen walked into the block holding little Sissy. Little Sissy held a lollipop in her hand and licked it happily. Audrey usually didn't allow the little girl to eat candy, but today was Halloween, so she took a lollipop from Aunt May, which made her very happy at that time. Behind Gwen, a woman with short blonde hair and tights and 5 tall and strong men were swaggering into the block. The 6 people looked around at the children passing by with serious faces. Soon, the 6 people came to Gwen, who was holding little Sissy. The blonde woman looked at the 2 people in a flash, and then her eyes suddenly lit up. What a beautiful and cute little girl. I can't help but want to bully her when I see her, the blonde woman thought, and then stretched out her evil hand to little Sissy and snatched the lollipop from little Sissy's hand. Then she stuffed the lollipop into her mouth with a ferocious look on her face. Gwen was stunned, watching from the side. How could there be an adult who would snatch a child's lollipop? Hey, what do you want to do? Gwen came to her senses and stared at the woman. Gwen took a half step back with little Sissy and looked at them with some caution. In Gwen's arms, little Sissy looked at her empty little hands, then looked at the lollipop in the woman's mouth, and was stunned for a moment. Then, little Sissy cried out, "Wow! Give me back my lollipop!" The blonde woman made a face, then turned away with a satisfied look. The little chicken on Gwen's shoulder also looked at the woman in a daze. It couldn't figure out that there would be a guy who was more shameless and greedy than it, who even snatched the things of the cute little Sissy. Should I take action? It doesn't seem to hurt little Sissy. Or should I ask the boss? The crying of the little guy immediately startled the children who were asking for candy. The crowd on the street just took a look and stopped paying attention because the blonde woman had turned around and walked forward with 5 men. However, because today is Halloween, there are children, and there are always crying sounds, but little Sissy's crying is louder, so people pay attention. Suddenly, the little guy stopped crying, sniffed, and then tapped her watch with her little hand. Little Sissy said to the watch with a slightly crying voice, "Woo woo. Is there anyone here? Someone is bullying little Sissy. Woo woo woo." There is a communication group created by Tony on little Sissy's watch, and the group name is Little Sissy's Backing. There are Mei Gan, Tony, Banner, Johnny, Steve, Uncle Kyan and others in it, and the powerful guys on the block are all there. As long as little Sissy needs something, she will say a word in it, and someone will respond. At the same time, in the research room of Stark Industries, Banner and Johnny's mobile phones made a series of beeping sounds at the same time. At this time, Jarvis' voice came and said to Tony, "Sir, I just received a distress signal from little Sissy on your phone." Tony, who was discussing with Banner, woke up suddenly. Tony didn't say anything and immediately put on the Mark armor and rushed out from the passage, left on the roof. At the same time, he said in the communication group, "Don't be afraid, little Sissy. The Godfather will be here soon." As Tony rushed out, Johnny's figure also rushed to the helipad outside and sat in the cab. Suddenly, the helicopter burned with a light blue flame, and in Banner's eyes, it left quickly. Banner watched the 2 guys fly away helplessly. How could Hulk not fly? Thinking about it, he ran to the elevator and prepared to drive the car in the basement. At the same time, Uncle Kyan, who was drinking tea, picked up the ringing mobile phone and pressed it gently. Suddenly, little Sissy's voice with a crying voice sounded. Uncle Kyan's face changed suddenly, and the powerful air overturned the teapot and teacup on the table to the ground. Uncle Kyan moved slightly, and when he reappeared, he was already outside the door, and then he quickly rushed towards the little guy. In the flower shop, Audrey, who had just heard the noise, and Natasha, who had finally come back from a few days of rest, immediately rushed out of the door and ran towards Natasha's car. Police station. Kato's coffee shop. Chapter 117. Superheroes gather together again because of lollipops. Skull Island. Mei Gan, who was just about to go back, received a message from the little chicken at this time. He immediately felt a little amused. This group of funny villains actually bullied his daughter. He still remembered the group of funny villains when he watched the movie, and the plot of snatching candy was still fresh in his memory. If it was them, Mei Gan would have nothing to worry about. They could not break little Sissy's defense, even if they beat her for several days, especially with the existence of the little chicken. "Stop them," Mei Gan ordered the little chicken. After that, Mei Gan turned around and said goodbye to King Kong and started the teleportation to rush towards the little guy. On the street, the little chicken, who had just received Mei Gan's order, flapped its two little wings and rushed towards the blonde woman. In a moment, it caught up with several people and stopped in front of them. Chickens can fly for so long. Several people looked at the little chicken in front of them and stopped. The blonde woman took out the lollipop in her mouth in a daze, looked at the men behind her and said. The people behind the blonde were also a little surprised. They looked at each other, and then the bald man in the middle said, "Why don't we catch it? It's so magical, we should be able to make some money." The people nodded their heads when they heard this. Such a novel and beautiful animal must be obtained. Even if we don't sell it, it's good to keep it for ourselves. As the people thought, the blonde was about to ask them to do it. However, at this moment, the chick suddenly glowed with red light. In the blink of an eye, the harmless chick just now turned into a huge bird in the eyes of everyone. The red light surrounded the chick, and the burning flames even burned the air. The chick stared at the 6 people with its eyes. The people were so scared that they froze in place again, with fear in their eyes, and then they swallowed their saliva. The blonde woman was so scared that she couldn't even hold the lollipop steadily, and she didn't even notice it fell to the ground. On the street, all the pedestrians looked at the phoenix floating in the air in amazement, and then an excited voice sounded, "This is the beautiful bird on the day of the Big Apple City battle. It is the bird that helped us defeat the aliens. It's true. Wow, it's really beautiful. So cool. It seems to be the pet of the Ash Wizard. Could there be evil aliens here?" The crowd was not afraid. Perhaps the Big Apple City battle gave them a signal that the phoenix was protecting them. They all looked at the phoenix excitedly. "Chicken, that bad girl stole my lollipop, beat her up for me." At this time, Gwen had already walked to the bottom of the chicken with little Sissy. Little Sissy clenched her little fists and shouted angrily at the blonde woman in a baby voice. Wow, it actually stole the lollipop from such a cute kid. No wonder this beautiful bird showed up. The crowd heard the little guy's voice and started discussing again. A blue light appeared under Gwen's feet. In an instant, Mei Gan's figure appeared beside Gwen. Mei Gan gently took little Sissy from Gwen's arms and then curiously looked at the 6 funny people who were already slumped on the ground. "Dad, they are the ones who bullied me. It was that bad girl who stole my lollipop." Little Sissy pointed at the blonde woman and said angrily, "It was not easy to get a lollipop, but before I could taste it for a few bites, it was snatched away by the bad guy. I don't know when I will get such a sweet lollipop in the future. Grandma Mei only gave me one. I'm so angry." Little Sissy had tears on her face, and she pouted her little mouth and stared at the blonde woman indignantly. Boom. A roar sounded. Iron Man Tony fell from the sky, then opened his mask and walked towards Mei Gan with some concern. Looking at the little guy with tears on his face, Tony felt distressed. The little guy pulled his beard and he didn't say anything harsh. Tony then asked Sissy softly, "Sissy, what's wrong? You're not hurt. Who bullied you? Was it these guys on the ground?" Tony stared at the frightened people with a gloomy face. "Godfather, they stole my lollipop." Sissy saw another familiar face appear and quickly pointed at the people sitting on the ground. As soon as Sissy finished speaking, the sound of a helicopter sounded. The people on the street looked up and saw a helicopter burning with light blue flames flying in the air of the block and then landed on an open space, burning a large piece of the ground. Then, the Ghost Rider came down from the helicopter and his pupils with light blue flames were staring at the sinful people. Some of the people on the ground were already scared to death. They were just a group of ordinary people, at most ordinary people playing with guns. How could they provoke these superheroes with superpowers? Several men looked at the blonde woman in front of them with some dissatisfaction. "You are greedy, stealing the lollipops of children, and you have snatched a hornet's nest." However, this is not the end. In the sight of the crowd on the street, an old man with a guide stick and a Chinese man were running here. They took a step and covered several meters, as if they were traveling through space, and came to Mei Gan's side in a few steps. Uncle Khan took little Sissy from Mei Gan with concern, and then touched her little face. After confirming that the little girl had no signs of injury, he breathed a sigh of relief. Then he looked at the people on the ground with his white pupils, and the cold murderous aura enveloped them, making them shiver unconsciously. Here, if we talk about the one who has killed the most people, it must be Uncle Khan. What's more, he has the existence of ki on his body, and he is very good at using murderous aura. Just when Uncle Kyan was about to make a move, hurried footsteps sounded, and Audrey and Natasha rushed out of an alley, saw the position of the crowd, and hurriedly ran over. As the two approached, Audrey hurriedly asked Uncle Kyan, "Kyan, little sissy." "It's okay," Uncle Kyan said softly, after dispelling the murderous aura on his body. Not far away, a car rushed in here quickly, and the door opened suddenly. Banner got out of the car, and said as he walked, "Where are the people who bullied little sissy? Do you want me to call Hulk out?" No need, no need, they are just a few ordinary criminals." Natasha's forehead was sweating when she heard it, and then she hurriedly replied, "Little chicken, come down." Mei Gan shouted at the little chicken in the air. "Look at how scared these funny guys are, they are all peeing yellow." Mei Gan wanted to laugh a little. These guys just snatched little sissy's lollipop. Isn't this like turning on the light in the toilet, looking for death? At this time, a colorful light fell from the sky and landed beside several people. The light dissipated, and Thor appeared beside several people with a long-haired woman. "Thor, how do you know that little sissy was bullied?" Tony asked with some doubts. "Heimdall told me. I just happened to need Mei for something," Thor said as he stepped forward to Tony. After the battle in the Big Apple, they gathered here again, except for Steve and Barton who were on missions too far away and couldn't make it back. But Steve kept asking about the progress of things on his phone. Trident headquarters in Washington. Nick listened to his men's complaints, rubbed his forehead with some depression, picked up the phone and called Natasha. "Agent Romanoff, I want to know what happened there again, and why there is such a strong energy reaction." Nick asked Natasha. "Sir, several criminals bullied little sissy, and Mei and the others have surrounded them. Sir, we will take care of these guys, as well as the organization behind him. I'm little sissy's godmother." Natasha took out her phone and walked away from the crowd, gritting her teeth at Nick. "Fuck, how evil are these guys? They even bully a cute baby like little sissy. I'll leave it to you. Just don't make too much noise." Nick was relieved when he heard that and hung up the phone. More later. Please subscribe. Chapter 118, Lollipop Induce Group Fight. Subscribe. At this time, a strange man in a blue jacket and shorts came with two people to Mei Gan's side. Then he realized something was wrong and swallowed his saliva. He smiled awkwardly and was about to leave. However, Mei Gan waved his hand, and the three of them were pulled by something, and their bodies involuntarily moved closer to the people on the ground, and then sat down next to the blonde woman. They? Natasha asked with some confusion. "They are in the same group," Mei Gan explained lightly. On the ground, the boss who had just arrived swallowed his saliva, glared at the stupid subordinates, and cursed. "Fuck, idiots, I'm going to be killed by you. How did you provoke these superheroes?" "Boss, she robbed the little girl. She is the daughter of the magician." The bald subordinate pointed at the blonde woman with a trembling hand, and then said in a crying voice, "Fuck." The blue boss's forehead was exposed with veins, staring at his blonde woman. "I thought you were the most reliable, but who knew you were the most deceiving, and you put me in hell." At Gillian's home, Uncle Long was preparing his equipment, but he didn't see the group of guys coming. He climbed to the roof with some doubts and looked around carefully. Only then did he find that a group of people had gathered not far away. Uncle Long took out a telescope and looked over there. The group of guys seemed to be surrounded by Zio-Kyan and his friends. Uncle Long was relieved, and then he wondered, could it be that Zio-Kyan knew about my situation and came to help? After telling Gillian and the others about the situation outside, he walked towards the crowd. When Uncle Long came to Uncle Kyan's side, he looked at the people on the ground with sympathy. When Uncle Long learned about the incident from Gwen, he shook his head and looked at the people sitting on the ground like they were mentally retarded. You can choose the one you don't want to mess with among so many children for a lollipop. How bad is your luck? It's also tragic. The sound of sirens came from a distance. Mei Gan thought that George was coming. Looking at the little sissy who was still a little aggrieved, Mei Gan glanced at the lollipop on the ground from time to time. Mei Gan smiled and said to little sissy, "Baby, Daddy will ask Uncle Kato to teach these guys a lesson to make you feel better. I will get you another lollipop. Don't be sad." When little Sissy heard that she would get another lollipop, her eyes immediately lit up, and then she looked at Audrey next to her carefully, looking at her expectantly. Audrey smiled, raised a white finger, and whispered to the little girl, "You can only eat one, otherwise your teeth will be broken." Little Sissy asked her mother to agree, and nodded to promise, and then her aggrieved face immediately broke into a smile. Mei Gan saw that the little girl was no longer aggrieved, and quickly made a look at Kato. Kato understood, clenched his fist, and walked towards the people on the ground with a sinister smile. Seeing Kato walking towards those guys, Natasha couldn't help but said, "Admin, can you not hit them in the face?" The blue-clothed boss looked at Kato and Natasha approaching, swallowed his saliva and said, "No." Kato grinned, and then hit the blue-clothed boss with an uppercut. Bang bang ah. Ouch. Fuck. You dare to curse, I'll beat you to death. Bang ah. Audrey saw this scene and quickly covered little Sissy's eyes with her hands, but little Sissy was excited to watch through her fingers, and she clenched her fists from time to time. After a while, the sound stopped, leaving only the screams of the crowd. Kato and Natasha returned to the crowd with some dissatisfaction. These guys were really not resistant to beatings. They couldn't stand it after a few hits. It was not satisfying. George, who had been waiting outside the crowd for a long time, walked into the crowd with a group of policemen. He had his men handcuff these guys, and then walk towards Mei Gan and the others. "Mei, what's going on?" George looked at the superheroes who appeared here with some shock, wondering how these guys bullied little Sissy. "Let your daughter tell you. She knows better." Mei Gan pointed at Gwen, who was standing outside the crowd. George shrugged his shoulders after hearing this. Seeing that there was nothing else to do here, Mei Gan asked everyone to disperse. Tony stepped forward to comfort little Sissy, then drove the Mark armor back to his home in the neighborhood. Anyway, there was a Halloween party tonight, so he would not go back to the laboratory. Seeing that Tony had left, everyone began to disperse, and little Sissy had already run to Nora, who was rushing over. She had not forgotten that she came here to invite Nora to the Halloween party. Somewhere in the dark place of the universe, a huge spaceship was floating there quietly. A dark elf looked at a strange screen and suddenly said to Molesky standing behind him, "The ether is not in Asgard anymore, it's in Midgard now." Molesky put down the hand that was about to poke a dark elf and hurried forward to take a closer look. Then he said, "You don't have to sacrifice, let's go to Midgard." After that, the spaceship moved gently and headed towards the earth. "So, you want me to see if I can take the ether out of your girlfriend's body?" Mei Gan said in the tavern, listening to Thor's request. "Yes, Mei, do you have a way?" Thor asked Mei Gan anxiously. Because his father had no way to take out the ether, Odin suggested to Thor that maybe Mei Gan had the ability, so Thor came. Perhaps what Thor didn't know was that because he brought Jane back to Earth, a war in Asgard was avoided, and most importantly, the death of his mother was avoided. "I'll try." Mei Gan did not give an accurate response. Reaching out a hand and placing it on Jane's hand, a magical power probed into Jane's body. Not long after, Mei Gan's hand left Jane's skin. Jane looked at Mei Gan with some trepidation. After all, this was the last chance Thor knew. "Mei, how is it?" Thor asked anxiously. "It should be no problem." Mei Gan smiled slightly, then stretched out his right hand, and a green light connected to Jane's body. Jane's body immediately became illusory, as if it did not exist in this universe. In Jane's illusory body, red liquid-like ether particles were wandering in her body. As Jane became illusory, the ether became clear. Mei Gan waved his left hand, and the ether particles gathered towards Mei Gan's left hand, as if attracted by something. Mei Gan spread his palm, and the ether particles lay obediently in his palm, slowly rotating, and soon turned into a red gem. Mei Gan's right hand fell, cutting off the green light, and Jane's body turned from illusory to real, and returned to the earth. Thor looked at Mei Gan expectantly. "It's okay." Mei Gan looked at the real gem in his hand. "Mei, this is the ether particle." Tony walked forward in confusion, and looked at the reality gem in Mei Gan's palm. "You can call it the reality gem." Mei Gan smiled slightly, then gently clenched his palm, and the reality gem was sent into the system space, lying quietly with the space gem. Chapter 119, Undead Night, Subscription Request, Night. The white moon shines down, illuminating the entire block. In the block, all the street lights have been turned off. This is a unanimous decision. Only the mysterious tower at the entrance of the block flickers faintly, illuminating that area. In the middle of the block, all the children are wearing masks of various monsters and demons. Little Sissy and Nora are happily walking through the crowd in a small magic robe, holding a small magic wand in their hands, and pointing it at someone in the crowd from time to time, and then the two of them let out a happy laugh. Peter and Gwen invited some of their good classmates to come to participate in the party tonight. Natasha also called Barton's wife and children to come, so it is very lively here tonight. Mei Gan and several men sat at a table carried out from the tavern, watching the children playing and drinking wine. At another table, Uncle Kyan, Uncle Long and Norman sat together. They were much older than Mei Gan, so they did not join Mei Gan and his friends. Thor has not gone back yet. He plans to stay here for a few days to accompany her Jane. Hey, guys, are you guys just drinking in silence? Do you want to dress up and have fun together? Natasha came up at this time. She was wearing a witch's costume, a pointed hat on her head, and holding a broom in her hand, and said to everyone, "Okay, is there any costume that can set off my costume?" Tony took a sip of wine and said to Natasha, "You should look for it yourself. I'm no longer your assistant. Don't expect the lady to help you." Natasha pointed to the box at the door of the tavern. "Okay." Tony shrugged and walked towards the box. After a while, "Hey, guys, don't you want one?" "Banner, you see this pumpkin costume is quite suitable for you. Even if the Hulk comes out, you are not afraid of bursting it." Tony took out a pumpkin costume and shouted to Banner, "Keep it for me." Banner showed a little interest and walked up yelling, "I don't think I need to dress up. I can transform directly." Seeing Thor looking at him, Johnny looked at some monsters playing on the street and said, "Don't burn others, Johnny." Thor said, "I can use Angel's Flame, not Hellfire." Johnny raised his eyebrows. "Aren't you going to pick one, May?" Thor shrugged, then looked at Mei Gan and said, "None of those costumes suit me. I'll show you a cool one later." Mei Gan became interested and started to search in the space. Not long after, he saw Tony, dressed in a vampire costume, and Banner with a pumpkin head coming back. "Thor, May, why don't you change into another one?" Tony asked Thor with some doubts, because Johnny had already turned into his Ghost Rider look. "I'll go see if there's anything suitable for me." Thor originally wanted to wear his combat costume, but seeing that Jane had turned into a female ghost, he also walked to the box. "Thor, I think that clown costume suits you very well," Tony shouted at Thor's back. "Okay, it's my turn now." Mei Gan finished the drink in his glass, then stood up and said, "The most amazing ones are the ones who appear last." Mei Gan looked at everyone with some complacency. At this time, Audrey, wearing a blue cloak of wisdom, holding a long staff in her hand, and wearing a noble ring on her head, walked towards Mei Gan. As Audrey walked, her white long legs were looming under the cloak. Mei Gan's eyes lit up all of a sudden. "I will use this set tonight." Mei Gan licked his chapped lips and thought excitedly, "Honey, does it look good? This is the set you gave me this morning." Audrey turned around and asked with a smile, "It looks good. It's so beautiful." After Mei Gan finished speaking, he walked up and hugged Audrey's waist and then whispered in her ear, "Don't change your clothes tonight, he." Audrey's cheeks were slightly red and she rolled her eyes at Mei Gan. Changing the subject, he said, "Everyone has changed. Why haven't you changed yet?" Mei Gan looked up and saw Thor wearing a clown costume and a clown mask walking towards everyone. "Okay, watch me." Mei Gan smiled mysteriously. After walking a little further, Mei Gan's thoughts moved slightly. The dark light covered Mei Gan, and the action here attracted everyone's attention. Everyone looked up and looked curiously in Mei Gan's direction. After a while, the dark light curtain slowly dissipated. On the street, a monster with a sheep's head that was larger than an ordinary horse appeared. Two long horns that flashed with cold light were slightly bent. Under the horns, two eyes with blue light stared coldly at everyone. The body wrapped in armor could slightly see the gloomy white bones mixed with flesh and blood. The four hooves kept kicking the ground, and the purple light was temporarily released. "This is the mount of the filial son Arthas, invincible." On the back of the monster, Mei Gan was wearing a cold armor, with a helmet covering his entire face, leaving only a pair of shining pupils exposed. On the helmet, there were several spike-like iron pieces. Light blue cold air floated on the armor, and a dark blue cloak was swaying with the breeze. Mei Gan's right hand fell, and a long sword with a faint blue light appeared, which was the Frost Morn. I'm Daxio. Ah. No, it's the Lich King. The originally handsome appearance was instantly broken by Mei Gan's voice. Ah, Dad is so handsome in the crowd. Xiaosuxi looked at Mei Gan with shining eyes, and then rushed towards him, yelling, I want it too. I want to ride this handsome mount too. Xiaosuxi ran to Mei Gan's side, raised her little hand and kept shouting. Okay. Mei Gan quickly agreed to Xiaosuxi, otherwise she could keep arguing in his ear. After getting off Woody, Mei Gan picked up little Sissy and put her on Woody's back. Sister Nora, come on too. Little Sissy rode on Woody's back and shouted to Nora. Nora's originally envious expression immediately became joyful and rushed to Mei Gan's side. Mei Gan had no choice but to put the little girl on Woody's body and comforted Woody, who was expressing his dissatisfaction to Mei Gan. As the mount of the undead knight Arthas, Woody has a temper. Little Sissy is Mei Gan's descendant, so it's no problem for her to ride it, but Nora has no blood relationship with Mei Gan. In order to take care of little Sissy's mood and Nora's self-esteem, Mei Gan had to let Woody down. Mei, how can you cheat? You come out in such a handsome outfit and even have mount. Look, Johnny didn't even ride his mount. Tony saw that Mei Gan attracted everyone's attention and shouted quite unhappily. That can't be helped. It's your fault that you don't have such a handsome outfit, Mei Gan said, holding Frostmourne and spreading his hands. It was Tony's fist that got him. Outside the Earth, a huge spaceship passed through the wormhole and appeared there. The spaceship disappeared and slowly headed towards the Earth. Inside the spaceship, sir, we have found out where the other particles disappeared last, a dark elf said to Molesky, who was looking at the Earth. Then let's go there first and find out how the other particles disappeared, Molesky said without turning his head. Yes, sir. Chapter 120, The Destruction of the Dark Elves. Night. There were faint singing voices in the neighborhood. People didn't play the music very loudly because they didn't want to disturb the neighbors in the next block. The people who were reveling hadn't noticed the approach of the Dark Elves. Even Mei Gan didn't pay attention to the entire neighborhood all the time, let alone the outside of the Earth. Even Adam and Eve came out of the defense tower and joined the party. The happiest people here were the little chickens. There were more than a dozen tables on both sides of the street full of food. The little chickens were feasting on the food under the contemptuous eyes of the red dragon. Foodie. Then the red baby turned around, facing the little chickens with his butt and tail, and then happily ate the roasted lamb leg in front of him. Soon after, some students who lived farther away began to go back one after another. The party had come to an end. In the air, the hidden spaceship was slowly landing on the street where Mei Gan and others lived. It was like a long sword without a handle. At this moment, the two shadow wolves, Adam and Eve, seemed to sense something and ran quickly to Mei Gan's side. The little chicken and the red baby seemed to have noticed it too, but when they saw that the two shadow wolves had gone to Mei Gan to report, they lowered their heads and started to gnaw their food again. What's wrong? Mei Gan asked the two giant wolves in confusion. Ah. The giant wolf roared towards the sky. Mei Gan, who had already taken off his armor, frowned in understanding, and his huge mental power spread towards the sky. In an instant, the spaceship that looked like a broken longsword at an altitude of 5,000 meters appeared in Mei Gan's mind. Mei Gan waved his hand, and a crystal ball appeared in his hand. With a slight wave of his right hand, a light and shadow appeared in front of him. The light and shadow looked like the spaceship. Tony, tell them to hide in the house. Seeing Mei Gan's actions, the few people who ran over looked at the picture in the light and shadow, and immediately felt that something was wrong. When Tony heard what Mei Gan said, he quickly called Natasha to bring the rest of the people into the house. Thor, you brought this here. Mei Gan pointed to the light and shadow in the air and said, what is this? Thor was a little confused. When did I bring these people here? The Dark Elves, they noticed the whereabouts of the other particles, so they followed them here. Mei Gan wanted to explain to Thor. Impossible, the Dark Elves have been wiped out by my grandfather. Thor's face was full of disbelief. I'm not explaining to you again. You will know if I'm right or not later. They are coming down soon. I don't want my house to be destroyed again, Mei Gan said, and his figure soared into the sky and approached the Dark Elves spaceship. In order to save his own physiotherapy center, Mei Gan decided to take the initiative and kill the danger in the cradle. Thor looked at the dark sky after hearing this, then stretched out his right hand, caught the short-handled hammer, and spun into the sky. In the air, Mei Gan floated outside the spaceship, and then came to the cockpit and knocked politely. Suddenly, the whole spaceship shook, and then stopped in midair. Inside the spaceship, Molesky looked at Mei Gan floating outside with a gloomy face. He had just entered the atmosphere, and was forced to stop in midair. Being able to float in midair without any equipment must be a powerful guy. Molesky knew that he would definitely not be able to beat him, but he had a brother of the same race, and as long as they got the other particles, they were destined to be enemies with the entire universe. Then he opened a window in front of Mei Gan and said, "Midgard, why did you run here to die? Isn't it better to live one more second?" Molesky came to Mei Gan with a group of men holding guns, with his hands behind his back. Are you saying that I'm going to die? Are you kidding me?" Mei Gan laughed when he heard it. He had seen people pretending, but he had never seen people pretending so stiffly. At this time, Tony and Thor also came to Mei Gan's side, looking at Molesky in front of them with caution. "Don't be nervous, they are just a group of paper tigers." Mei Gan noticed the tense bodies of the two people and quickly patted their shoulders and said with a smile, "Haha. No wonder you are so arrogant. It turns out that the people from Asgard helped you. Midgardians, your universe should not exist. Since you are all here to die, I will send you on your way." Molesky chuckled twice and waved to his men. Suddenly, holding the laser guns of their world, they shot at Mei Gan and his men. Bang bang bang, the sky full of laser shells attacked Mei Gan and his three men like raindrops. Thor and Tony were about to fight back and block these red shells. At this time, Mei Gan stretched out his hand to stop the two people and then stretched out his right hand forward. A staff appeared in Mei Gan's hand and the staff pointed at the attacking shells. In an instant, an extremely large blue shield emitting a chill enveloped the three people. Inside the shield, a wisp of blue skulls were shuttling outside the shield. The red shells just arrived outside the shield after the shield appeared. The red shells in the sky were like the sand cannons that Mei Gan played with when he was a child hitting the wall. Although there was a sound, there was no damage at all. The Lich's frost armor. It's still quite useful, but it's a bit cold. Looking at Tony, who was shivering, Mei Gan thought so. "It seems that you are not strong, but you are shouting to destroy the universe. Who gave you this courage? Miss Liang?" Mei Gan smiled contemptuously and then pointed his staff at Molesky. Suddenly, a huge dark cloud appeared out of thin air above the spaceship. Although it was not invisible in the dark night sky, Molesky sensed the huge energy in the air. The huge energy was rapidly gathering, as if it would bloom above their heads in the next second. "Blizzard," Mei Gan murmured. Countless blue ice cubes from the dark clouds fell towards the spaceship like long swords. Boom boom, in an instant, the Dark Elf spaceship burst into flames. Countless screams came from the spaceship. Molesky's pupils shrank slightly, and then he looked at the long ice cubes like long swords falling towards them with great fear. "Damn it, retreat, retreat quickly." Molesky hurriedly ran into the spaceship, as if to remind his spaceship pilot, but it was too late. On the ground, Banner and his men rushed to the telescope on the block, all wanting to appreciate the fireworks blooming in the sky. More than 5,000 meters above the sky, countless flames exploded and bloomed in the air. "Compared to us, you are more like a dark person. You actually want to destroy our race." Molesky saw that he could not save the Dark Elves, gnashed his teeth, and looked at Mei Gan and said, "This is a double standard dog. He wants to destroy the universe, and he won't let others destroy his race." Even Thor and Tony felt sick when they heard this. How could such a person exist? Soon, countless blizzards destroyed the entire spacecraft at an altitude of 5,000 meters. They were gone before they even set foot on the earth. Looking at the wreckage that was about to fall to the ground, Mei Gan waved his staff again, and a huge ball of light bloomed below, turning the wreckage that seemed to be about to fall to the earth into ashes. Chapter 121 Steve returns. At night, more than 5,000 meters above the earth, Mei Gan, Tony and Thor quietly watched the dark elves turn into dust. No one knew they were coming. No, there were still people who knew, such as S.H.I.E.L.D. Seeing a disaster being prevented like this, Nick Fury was relieved immediately. In his opinion, it was the right decision to gather all the Avengers around Mei Gan. If he hadn't done this, it would probably cost the funds for several safe houses, and some people's lives might have to be sacrificed. Fortunately, he was alert at the time. Fortunately, he had been arguing with the higher-ups for Mei Gan and appeasing some guys with dangerous ideas. Otherwise they would have such a safe earth for them to eat, drink and have fun. After giving himself a thumbs up, Nick Fury smiled with satisfaction, revealing his row of clean white teeth. However, he didn't know that he was appeasing those guys, and those guys were also paralyzing the boiled eggs. And in the neighborhood, Mei Gan, who had just returned to the ground with Tony, always felt as if he had forgotten what to do. After thinking carefully in his mind, he found nothing he had forgotten. When he accidentally saw Norman, Mei Gan finally knew what he had forgotten. Oh my god. Oh my god. How could I forget about alchemy? Oh my god. That dark elf was such a big piece of gold. How could I forget it, you pig-headed guy? Mei Gan knocked his head in annoyance, feeling very sad. How much money must have flown away? Should I go find Guyi and ask her to help turn back time so that he can turn those dark elves into gold nuggets? Mei, what's wrong with you? Audrey came up to the sleeping little sissy and asked with concern. It's okay, Mei Gan replied with a hard smile. Little sissy fell asleep. I'll take her back first. I won't change clothes. You come back early. Audrey's cheeks were slightly rosy at the end of the sentence, and she turned around and walked towards the flower shop. When Mei Gan heard this, the annoyance he had just felt was instantly thrown behind his mind. As an ageless SP, Mei Gan seemed to have cast holy light on himself and was fully revived. Anxious, Mei Gan simply greeted everyone and rushed to the flower shop. It seemed that Audrey really understood Mei Gan, and one sentence eliminated Mei Gan's lost mood. At the table, some guys who didn't want to sleep were listening to Thor's description of the scene just now. Just at this time, Nick Fury called to ask Natasha. Although he knew the result of the matter, he still wanted to know the truth of the matter and the identity of the enemy. Natasha briefly reported the identity of the enemy and what happened to Nick. After listening to this, Ludin's face remained expressionless, but he was already thankful for Mei Gan's action. If it weren't for him, this time it might not be as simple as the destruction of the earth. If he wasn't careful, the universe would fall into eternal darkness. He didn't know that even without Mei Gan, the Dark Elves would not succeed. At most, some beautiful people would be killed or injured, and some buildings in the beautiful country would be destroyed. Anyway, the beautiful country in this world is also full of disasters. If a few people don't die, it won't be considered a big event. Time passed, and the not so long night passed quickly. Not long after Mei Gan went back last night, everyone went back to sleep after staying for more than half an hour, leaving a pile of garbage on the ground. It was just light in the morning, and the cleaners called by Potts quickly wiped off the traces left by last night's party, making the streets clean again. In the morning, Mei Gan walked out of the bedroom with a spirited face. At first glance, he looked like he had slept well, but this sleep might not be very serious. After breakfast, as usual, he went to the park for a walk, and then Mei Gan went to Skull Island. Stayed on Skull Island until noon, came back to eat, and played with the little guy in the afternoon. Days passed like this, steady and leisurely. Several buildings at the base of Skull Island are rising rapidly. After some time, it may be possible to move in after the new year. Some time ago, Johnny suggested that they go there for a vacation after the construction is completed, stay for a week or two, get away from the city, and get in touch with nature. This proposal was unanimously praised by everyone. 2 months later, in the afternoon, when Mei Gan carried little Sissy to the physical therapy center, He saw Linda sitting at the door of the tavern like a woman waiting for her husband. She no longer had the liveliness and smile of the past, and now she looked like an abandoned woman. "Linda, what are you doing?" Mei Gan looked at Linda with some doubts. Was she kicked out by Steve? "Mei, Steve hasn't called me in the past week, and no one answered his phone. Did something happen to that guy, or did he run away without telling me like my exes?" Linda said in a sad tone. "You should know that Steve is not that kind of person, and that guy is very tough." "Don't worry," Mei Gan said comfortingly. "Really?" Linda said with some doubt. "Really? Why would I lie to you?" Mei Gan rolled his eyes. He didn't believe that Steve would get into trouble. They were famous for being 50 to 50. As for abandoning Linda, that was even more impossible. No one would believe it, even if you said it. "Hey, this damned guy hasn't come back yet. I'm tired of eating melons and vegetables every day these days." After being comforted by Mei Gan, Linda's eyes finally showed some spirit. Mei Gan had nothing to say. Only Steve could conquer this woman who drove when she was energetic. Just thinking about it, the sound of a motorcycle engine came from the entrance of the block. Not long after, Steve was seen riding a motorcycle with a big knife and a shield slung on his back. Linda's eyes lit up when she saw Steve. Before Steve stopped the motorcycle, she rushed towards him. Steve had to stop the motorcycle quickly, reached out and hugged her, and then smiled and patted Linda's back. "Hi, little sissy." Steve and Linda were affectionate for a moment, and then called to little sissy in Mei Gan's arms. "Hi, Uncle Steve." Little sissy smiled happily with her little mouth showing a few teeth. Then Steve turned to Mei Gan and said to Mei Gan, "Mei, I have something to ask you. Are you free?" "Of course, I'm the one with the most free time on the whole street." Mei Gan shrugged and replied. "Then I will go to have a cup of coffee later. Please wait for me." Steve is still thinking about going back to take a shower and change into a comfortable outfit. "Okay, but you have to go to the coffee shop at the gates to drink coffee. Kato has started his own business." Mei Gan waved to Steve and then walked into the physiotherapy center. Steve was stunned when he heard it and then smacked his lips, missing the coffee made by Kato. "Don't worry, dear. I also have a share in the store opened by Kato. I will go and get you coffee later." Linda smiled and hugged Steve's arm and said, "That's great." Mei Gan chatted with Uncle Gan in the physiotherapy center, watching Aunt Mei teasing little sissy, and time passed unknowingly. After a while, Steve walked into the physical therapy room in casual clothes. Chapter 122. What you said seems to make sense. In the neighborhood physiotherapy center, Mei Gan and Steve were sitting in the conference room, drinking the coffee that Linda packed. "What's the matter? It took you so long to find your good friend," Mei Gan said with his right hand supporting his cheek, feeling a little sleepy. "Maybe it's because he has been doing nothing for too long. Mei Gan feels sleepy all the time recently, or because he fights too much at night. Logically speaking, even if his physique is twice as strong as Uncle Gan's, it should be fine. Although he has to go to Skull Island in the morning to check the progress, he just takes a few glances there, and there is nothing for him to do. I guess it may be that the Hydra people knew that I was looking for Bucky, so they didn't let him show up. However, fortunately, we found him in the end, and also found one of their nests by the way," Steve replied. "Thinking of that battle, it was really dangerous, and Barton almost died there." "That's good. What else do you want me to help you with? Is Nick ready for $? Mei Gan didn't want to do it for nothing. At least he had to trick Nick into a safe house. Nick Fury hasn't been looking for him recently. He always asks Steve and others to convey his wishes. He is very ruthless when it comes to playing the emotional card. Fortunately, he was not blinded by his emotions. He still had to accept the money. No matter who came to lobby, the money would be paid in the end. "Ah, Mei, you actually accepted my money." Steve stared at Mei Gan with his eyes wide open. "I didn't accept your money. We have such a good relationship. I just accepted Nick's money," Mei Gan said innocently. "I brought Bucky back, but he doesn't remember me. I want you to see if you can wake up his memory." In the end, when Hydra saw that I wanted to take Bucky away, they were crazy enough to destroy Bucky, so Bucky was seriously injured. The doctor said that Bucky didn't know if he could hold on for 3 days. "Mei, my request should have nothing to do with Nick. Oh, Bucky is going to die. Should I save this guy? He killed Tony's dad. Will Tony bother me then? Forget it. Save him. At worst, he could revive his parents, so he could ask Tony for some shares. His father's bones should still be there, so it's fine. If the resurrection technique doesn't work, there's still the resurrection scroll. If that doesn't work, he can use the filial son's manipulation of the corpse. This will definitely work, but Howard will be the same as the living dead, and he will be controlled by Mei Gan. However, he looks no different from a normal person, but he is full of evil and exudes death. Steve, you are wrong to think like this. You should think about it from another angle. For example, if Nick finds that there is a powerful enemy that endangers society, will he ask you for help as soon as possible? If you go, do you think your good friend Bucky will not go with you? Isn't this equivalent to Bucky joining S.H.I.E.L.D? And I woke up Bucky. Isn't it equivalent to me helping Nick? Should he pay me? He originally wanted to take your money, but because of our good relationship, he won't ask for your money. Do you think I'm right? Mei Gan was just fooling Steve and talking a lot. Steve was confused by what he said, but it made sense. However, he felt something was wrong, but he didn't know what was wrong. Touching his head, Steve nodded slightly and said, Mei, what you said seems to make sense. It makes sense. Then you should call Nick first to see if he has the money ready. If he has, bring Bucky over. Mei Gan clapped his hands, as if he was happy that Steve recognized his words. But how should I say it? Steve said with a little doubt. Just go to him directly and tell him that if he wants you and Bucky to help with the mission next time, he must pay. Mei Gan finished speaking, and while Steve was drinking coffee, he showed a smile of success. When Steve looked up, it disappeared in an instant. Okay, I'll try, Steve said with a little hesitation. He always felt that he seemed to be tricked by Mei Gan, but he couldn't tell where the problem was. Steve felt that his brain seemed to be a little bit off. It was not like this before. Maybe he had been frozen in the ice for too long and his brain was frozen. Steve picked up the phone and called Nick directly. After a few seconds, the call was connected. Steve directly conveyed to Nick what Mei Gan had taught him. Listening to Steve's request, it was already a threat, and the other side fell silent. It can be imagined that Nick's face must be very ugly. But in the end, Nick Fury agreed. Trident headquarters. Nick Fury put down the phone with a cold face. He knew that these words must have been taught by Mei Gan. Steve, an upright guy, would definitely not doubt his friend Mei Gan's words and was fooled. That greedy guy made me lose millions of dollars again. My head hurts. The doors of 2 or 3 safe houses are gone. Give it to me. Just consider it as the cost of his last move. Hey, this guy's really greedy for money. I have to report more in this report. After all, it is the medical expenses of saving a super soldier. It can't be done without tens of millions of dollars. My goodness, Mei Gan asked for several million US dollars. This guy increased it by more than 10 times. He is worthy of being the king of safe houses, Nick Fury. In the reception room of the physical therapy center, Steve put down his phone, smiled at Mei Gan and said he agreed and said he would transfer the money to Audrey's card. Mei Gan's face fell when he heard this, forgetting that the boiled egg always transferred the money to Audrey's card. Then ask him to send Bucky over. Mei Gan said listlessly, it has been arranged again. Thanks man. Steve was still very grateful to Mei Gan in his heart, although this guy made him a bad guy again, asking Nick for money, and fooled him. Yes, Steve was freed from Mei Gan's control skillful, but he was not angry. Mei Gan didn't ask for much, and he still wanted to save Bucky's life. You're welcome. Nick paid for it anyway. By the way, we built a secret base on an island. I'll take you to see it later. We've also left a villa for you. Mei Gan waved his hand and suddenly thought of the secret base built on Skull Island, so he said to Steve, okay, let's talk about it after Bucky gets better. What are you going to say to Tony? Mei Gan suddenly said to Steve. I'll talk to him about this soon, Steve said after hesitating for a moment. Mei Gan shrugged his shoulders and said, you two should discuss it. It's best not to hurt the relationship between the two. Let's go back. When Bucky arrives, just come to the flower shop to find me. Mei Gan stood up and continued to talk to Steve. Okay, I know what to do. Mei, don't worry. Steve patted his chest and said. Mei Gan smiled, then turned around and walked out of the physiotherapy center with Steve. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, That Uncle is Really Brave. In the evening, the fiery red sun had just gone down. A medical vehicle was slowly driving into the block. Under Adam's vigilant eyes, the vehicle drove into the block smoothly. In the car, looking at the huge black wolf outside the window, Falcon swallowed his saliva with some palpitations. At the door of the flower shop, Mei Gan and little Sissy were sitting on a bench next to the door of the flower shop on the street with the little chicken. The two people and the beast were chewing a long piece of beef jerky. This was brought by Uncle Long in the afternoon. He heard that it was sent by his friends in China. It was very chewy. Little Sissy, who had just grown a few teeth, used it as a teething stick and liked it very much. Needless to say, the little chicken would eat anything. The two people and the beast were biting beef jerky in their mouths, and 3 pairs of eyes were staring at the approaching medical vehicle. Falcon parked the medical vehicle not far from Mei Gan and got out of the car. Falcon was stared at by 3 pairs of eyes and couldn't help but feel a little scared. The aggression was too strong. On the other side, perhaps seeing the arrival of the medical vehicle, Steve walked out of the tavern and walked towards Falcon. Falcon was relieved when he saw Steve being stared at by the Ash Mage and the Fire Phoenix mentioned by Carlson. He was really panicking. He was really afraid that the Ash Mage would suddenly dislike him and turn him into ashes with a random magic. Fortunately, the captain came. Steve walked up and called to Falcon. Captain, Bucky is in the car. Sam Wilson glanced at the two people and the beast, then took Steve to the back of the car. Opening the back door of the car, Bucky was lying on a medical bed. Next to the medical bed, an oxygen cylinder was placed next to it, and a bottle of 4th drip was hanging on Bucky's head. The two worked together to get Bucky off the car. Steve pushed the medical bed towards the two people and the beast, and Sam followed slowly behind him holding the oxygen cylinder. Mei Gan had already stood up, and when he saw Steve pushing the medical bed over, he walked towards Steve. Mei, look at Bucky. Steve stopped the medical bed in front of Mei Gan and asked Mei Gan. Mei Gan looked at the long-haired Bucky in front of him. His pale face had a huge wound on his chest. The wound was wrapped with bandages, and there was a trace of blood seeping out of the white bandages. Bucky was plugged with an oxygen tube, and it looked like he really wouldn't live long. Don't worry, I resurrected Carlson even if he died, let alone the one who is not dead. Mei Gan patted Steve's shoulder and comforted him. After that, Mei Gan took out the staff. The ceremony still had to be done. Don't be too casual about saving lives. Don't let the boiled egg feel that the money spent was not worth it when he knows it. Let the boiled egg feel that the money was spent, but it was worth it. Mei Gan waved the staff in his hand towards Bucky, and a golden light appeared from the staff and fell towards Bucky's body. The golden light crawled in Bucky's body and penetrated into his body. Bucky was wrapped in golden light, making it difficult to see the situation inside. Half a while later, the golden light faded away, and Bucky's wounds had healed, and his pale face had turned rosy. Seeing that Bucky had recovered, Mei Gan took a half step back and sat back on the bench. As for his brainwashing problem, Mei Gan knew that, as long as he met Steve, knew Steve's identity, and took him to Steve's museum, he would be able to remember those memories again, without Mei Gan's help. Even if Mei Gan had to take action, he would have to wait until this guy woke up. Anyway, this guy would wake up in a few minutes. Sure enough, a few minutes later, Bucky's eyelids moved, and suddenly he opened his eyes, then pulled out the oxygen tube in his nostrils, stood up and looked around with some vigilance. Bucky, it's me, Steve Rogers. Steve saw Bucky wake up, and hurriedly stepped forward and said, Steve. Bucky's eyes were full of confusion, and then his expression was slightly struggling, and then he hugged his head directly, and a look of pain appeared on his face. Mei, Bucky? Steve asked Mei Gan with some concern. It's okay, just wait a moment. Mei Gan's mental power has been on Bucky. Mei Gan knew that Bucky was about to remember the past. Not long after, Bucky, who was slumped on the ground, slowly stood up, panting with sweat on his forehead, then smiled and looked at Steve and said, "Steve, it's great to see you again." Steve hugged Bucky excitedly and slapped Bucky's back hard. Then the two of them patted each other, and those who didn't know would think that the two of them had some kind of feud. It doesn't look like they have a good relationship. Is there some deep hatred? Mei Gan was stunned watching from the side. Did that uncle flirt with Aunt Linda and was beaten by Uncle Steve and asked Dad to treat him, and now he is severely teaching that uncle a lesson? Little Sissy said while chewing the beef jerky in her hand. It's very likely that he is. Mei Gan nodded in agreement. That uncle is really brave. Hasn't he seen the big knife that Dad gave to Uncle Steve? Little Sissy said after licking her fingers. Honey, don't ever tell Uncle Steve that the knife was given by Dad. That knife is too ugly, Dad can't take it out, and it doesn't match your dad's looks, Mei Gan said earnestly. Little Sissy turned her head and stared at Mei Gan with a weird look for a moment, then shook her head with a dim look and continued to gnaw on the beef jerky in her hand. No, what's that look? Why are you shaking your head? Mei Gan felt like he was being disliked by his own daughter. Grandpa Gan said that I could have been even cuter, but was dragged down by Dad's looks. Grandpa Gan also said that Dad was shameless enough to think he was very handsome and told me not to learn from Dad. I didn't believe it at first, but now I do, Little Sissy said in a baby voice, and then moved her butt a little away from Mei Gan. Hearing this, Mei Gan stood there in a daze, as if he was struck by lightning. How mean Uncle Gan is. Then Mei Gan looked at Little Sissy with some sadness, feeling that her little cotton jacket had been cut by Uncle Gan and was a little leaky. Thank you, Mei. At this time, Steve, Bucky and Sam came forward, and Steve thanked Mei Gan. Bucky, Sam, this is Gan Mei. You can call him Mei. He is my good brother. Bucky, it was Mei who saved you just now. After Steve thanked Mei Gan, he introduced Bucky to the two. Thank you, Mei. Bucky bowed to Mei Gan and thanked him solemnly. You're welcome. I also do things for money, Mei Gan replied with a sad look. He was still thinking about what the little guy said. It really hurt his heart. Then he continued, Steve, remember to take Bucky to deal with Tony. If you can't deal with it, come to me again. I will make it up. But you have to talk to Nick. I have to charge you after that. He took Little Sissy and Little Chicken, who had finished eating beef jerky, away from the bench. Steve, does he have any opinion about me? Bucky saw Mei Gan leaving. Don't worry, Mei is easy to talk to. Maybe he was thinking about Tony. Let's go and talk while drinking. Steve patted Bucky on the shoulder and said, okay. Chapter 124. Outside the Earth. A Quinjet rushed out of the Earth and headed for space. This was the Quinjet that Tony had modified for Mei Gan, and now Audrey called it Mei Gan. Mei Gan had been complaining about this leaky name for a long time, but Audrey refused to change it. She even painted the Chinese characters Mei Gan on the fuselage, which made Mei Gan, who was so narcissistic, feel a little embarrassed. One night, Mei Gan secretly erased the words, but who knew that Audrey painted them again before departure. She also threatened not to sleep together for a month, so Mei Gan had no choice but to leave the two words on the fuselage. Now it has been several weeks since the rescue of Bucky, and the construction of Skull Island has been completed to the last part, and it is estimated that it will be completed in a few weeks. There are only some finishing touches left, and Mei Gan does not need to watch over it. Taking advantage of the fact that there is nothing to do during this period, Audrey suggested to go for a tour in space. Because it was her first time to go to space, Audrey's idea was not to go too far away from the Earth, for fear of accidents. Mei Gan had no objection. Even if an accident really happened, Mei Gan could just teleport back. But Mei Gan didn't say much. Audrey had the final say. Inside the Mei Gan, Audrey was sitting in the driver's seat, looking at the dim space ahead with an excited look. As a person who is proficient in driving skills, Audrey, who can move on the Earth, has driven countless times. However, those were all driving on the Earth, including Mei Gan. It was the first time to go to space. For her who loves driving, this was really a very special experience. Mei Gan stood at the stern of the cabin holding little Sissy, silently admiring the blue planet that was constantly moving away from the window. Not long after, perhaps because she was tired of watching, little Sissy patted Mei Gan and signaled Mei Gan to put her down. "Baby, do you want to go to your mother?" Mei Gan asked doubtfully. "Yes. Dad, Mom is alone in the cockpit. She should be scared. Just like when I woke up at night and saw that Mom and Dad were not there, I was also scared." Little Sissy may feel sorry for her mother, so she deliberately spoke loudly. "Mom is an adult. She won't be scared alone in the cockpit, and Red Baby is still there. Let's go. Dad will take you there." Mei Gan held little Sissy and walked towards the cockpit. "But Dad, Red Baby is not a person. It's just an animal, although it can talk," little Sissy said in a baby voice. "Baby is right. We should go to accompany Mom," Mei Gan said with a smile, and then walked towards the cockpit with faster steps. In the cockpit, Audrey was not afraid at all, and her excitement was even greater than before. For her, being able to drive the Mei Gan out of the earth was a dream come true, so how could she be afraid? Even if she was alone, she was not afraid. "Mom, don't be afraid. Dad and I are here to accompany you," little Sissy, who was lying on Mei Gan, said to Audrey with her fists clenched the moment Mei Gan stepped into the cockpit. "Baby is so good to mommy, I'm so happy." Audrey turned her head and looked at little Sissy and said, "Honey, we are going to that place now." Mei Gan looked at the starry sky outside the cockpit and asked Audrey. Mei Gan didn't care where to go. As long as there was scenery to see and a few photos to take, Mei Gan would be satisfied. This trip was perfect for Mei Gan. "Let's go to Mars first, dear. What do you think?" Audrey turned her head and looked at Mei Gan. "You decide. I don't care where I go." Mei Gan shrugged indifferently. Earth. In the neighborhood, Tony walked out of the house in a red suit and Steve walked towards Tony with Bucky. Tony has been working on his quantum armor for the past few weeks and rarely comes back to the block. Recently, he finally made a breakthrough and was very excited to give himself a 2-day vacation. Thinking that he hadn't seen little Sissy for a long time, he came back to his residence in the block and took little Sissy to eat delicious food later and relax himself. He didn't know that Mei Gan had already rushed out of the earth with his wife and children. Mei Gan didn't tell Tony, fearing that he would disturb Tony's inspiration. Steve has been waiting for Tony, but he never met him. Otherwise, Tony came back, and he was called by Nick again. He found several small bases of Hydra. There was no choice. Steve had to go with Bucky and Sam to fight a few waves of monsters. Tony came back and closed himself off again. So I waited until today to meet Tony back. "Wow, Steve, when did you come back? I thought you went to fight terrorists again. You really can't be idle. This is your friend." Tony saw Steve and said jokingly, and then the two gave each other a big hug. "Tony, I have something to talk to you about." "It's about your father," Steve said, looking at Tony seriously. "It's about my father, Captain Steve. Although you and my father are very familiar with each other, it's been so long now. What can we talk about him about?" Tony said, playing with a small paper box with toys in his hand. "It's really important," Steve said again in a serious tone. "Okay, let's talk first, but hurry up. I have to find little Sissy." Tony was so serious about Steve, so he spread his hands and said, "Then let's go to the pub to talk. Have a drink by the way. By the way, didn't Mei tell you? Their family has gone on a space trip." Steve took the two to the pub while talking. "Waiter, Mei didn't even ask me to go on a space trip. Did he forget that his planes were all modified by me and he actually left me, a maintenance engineer, and ran away?" Tony said with some dissatisfaction. Steve shrugged and said nothing. Not long after, in the veteran tavern, Steve asked the two to find a place by themselves, and he went to the basement to get a bottle of good wine. Tony casually sat down at a table after hearing that. However, just after Tony sat down, Bucky suddenly knelt down in front of Tony with a bang, and then prostrated himself in front of Tony. This sudden change scared Tony silly, and he came back to his senses after a while, and then hurried forward to help Bucky. He thought Bucky had a leg injury or was uncomfortable. "Mr. Stark, don't help me, this is what I should do." This solemn etiquette was what Bucky got from asking Cato. This is the most serious way of apology in China. Kowtow to admit mistakes. A few days ago, Bucky went to Kato's coffee shop to drink 2 cups of coffee and happened to chat with Kato for a few words. He thought that China was known as a country of etiquette and the etiquette of apology should be very grand. So he asked Kato, and Kato told Bucky, if there were no thorns here, Bucky would have wanted to apologize. If Mei Gan had not left yet, he could have gone to the flower shop to buy some roses. It just so happened that the roses had thorns on their branches. But now Mei Gan was not here, and he had to give up regardless of whether the florist came or not. Chapter 125. Are you saying that God sent someone to torture me? Block. Inside the Veterans Tavern, Tony was sitting at the table with a gloomy face. On the ground in front of Tony, Bucky was keeping the posture of kneeling to apologize, trying to ask Tony for forgiveness. Steve was standing aside, holding a glass of wine in his hand, looking at the two of them calmly. Bucky once said that it was his fault, so he wanted to solve it himself, and asked Steve not to help, even if Tony wanted to kill him to avenge his father. Steve agreed with Bucky's decision, and he also believed that Tony would not do this. So Steve stood aside quietly without saying a word. Captain, you knew about this a long time ago, right? Tony closed his eyes and took a moment to relax, then asked Steve beside him. Yes, Mei told me. He kept asking me to think about how to make it clear to you. He said that if you want to kill Bucky for revenge, no one should stop you, and no one will stop you. Tony looked at Bucky kneeling on the ground to apologize, his expression uncertain, shook his teeth, clenched his fists, and then kicked Bucky on the shoulder. Then he continued to grab Bucky's collar and pulled him up, and then punched him in the face several times. Steve watched from the side and smiled. Since Tony beat Bucky now, it means that Tony will not deal with Bucky again, and this matter is over. Looking at Bucky being beaten hard by Tony, Steve just looked straight at him. Tony beat him well. The harder he beat, the more relieved Steve was. At least Tony didn't just leave without saying a word. He also had to worry about when Tony saw Bucky and got upset and killed Bucky with a shot. The harder he beat now, the more resentment Tony could release. Who after a while, Tony panted, threw Bucky to the ground, then fell on the chair, staring at Bucky fiercely. Steve, I hope that next time you find the whereabouts of Hydra, you can call me and this guy. Tony said to Steve after his breath calmed down a little. Of course, Steve nodded. I want you to fight Hydra together, you shouldn't object. Tony then stared at Bucky and said. Bucky had just been beaten up by Tony, and now he was sitting on the ground, touching his wounds. He didn't even groan when he was beaten so hard just now. After all, he was sorry for Tony. If he still screamed like this, it would seem like he was bullied by Tony. Listening to Tony's words, Bucky nodded and said firmly, I will fight Hydra all my life, and I will never stop until I destroy them. Tony's face looked a little better after hearing this. At least Bucky knew to admit his mistakes, and the mastermind behind it was Hydra. I'll go back first, Steve. Tony looked at Bucky for the last time and walked towards his home. Looking at Tony's back, Steve helped Bucky up and said, are you okay? No problem, Bucky replied with a smile. Steve patted Bucky on the shoulder. In space, after more than a day of sailing, Audrey had passed the excitement at the beginning and was leaning back on the seat calmly, looking at little Sissy who was sitting next to her and eating snacks, with a gentle smile on her face. The days now were something Audrey had never dared to imagine before, a plain and happy life. Although there were some guys who wanted to disturb their family's peaceful life occasionally, they were all dealt with by Mei Gan, who also provided them with a spice in their peaceful life. Mei Gan was cooking lunch in the small kitchen. The small kitchen was closed to prevent the smoke from floating everywhere. Although there was a range hood, there were still some fish that slipped through the net. This had to be said, that Tony's head was really top notch, and Mei Gan was really satisfied with the modified Quinjet transport plane. Afternoon. There is no concept of time in space, but there are still clocks in the cabin to tell the time. Mei Gan was sitting in the cockpit, while Audrey's face was red. She was holding back her anger and wanted to curse out loud but couldn't. Audrey was teaching Mei Gan how to fly the Quinjet. Just after they finished their meal, Mei Gan suddenly had the urge to learn how to fly his own Quinjet, so he asked Audrey to teach him. Audrey was very happy when she heard it at first. If Mei Gan wanted to learn, she would definitely teach him carefully, and she could also satisfy her teacher's addiction, especially since the student was her husband. However, an hour later, Audrey wanted to go back to the past. She regretted it and didn't want to teach anymore. Audrey, who had been trying to maintain a gentle image recently, couldn't hold on any longer. In addition, little Sissy was still next to her, and it would be bad for the child if she yelled at her father. "Mei, my dear husband, are you sent by God to torture me? I just said to go right, not left. Didn't I just go right?" Mei Gan shrank his neck and said in a low voice, "Is that right? Do you use your left hand to hold chopsticks? You are not left-handed," Audrey shouted in a loud voice. Audrey's image at this moment is like the coach when Mei Gan was practicing driving before he crossed over. If the boss of the driving school had not stipulated that he could not say anything too unpleasant at that time, the coach would have said all the ancestors of Mei Gan. This is what Audrey looks like now. "Honey, I have a headache. I want to take a nap. Let Guogo take over the Mei Gan. Also, you'd better not learn to drive the Mei Gan. Leave such a simple thing to me. I still want to live a few more years." Audrey rubbed her head, suppressed her anger, and said to Mei Gan, then turned and walked into the lounge. Normally, her husband seemed fine, but why did he not know left from right when he sat in the driver's seat? How could he not make mistakes when driving? He even remembered the buttons incorrectly. Little did she know that someone felt the same way as him when he was learning to drive. "Hey, Dad, you pissed off Mom and left. Dad is so stupid." Little Sissy stood up and pulled up Mei Gan, who was doubting herself, and then sat in the driver's seat. Mei Gan, who was standing aside, was shocked by the little Sissy, who was a little unfamiliar at first, and then skillfully drove the Mei Gan to accelerate steadily towards Mars. The world is not worth it. Why can't I even compare to a 1-year-old child? Did I hurt something when I traveled through time? I'm tired, so I'd better go to the lounge to get ready. Baby, the responsibility of driving the Mei Gan is handed over to you. Dad wants to take a rest, Mei Gan said somewhat listlessly. Dad, go and comfort Mom. I'll leave this to Guogo and me, and Red Baby is here. Little Sissy said without looking back. Mei Gan looked down at Fat Dragon, who was dozing off, shook his head, and walked towards the lounge. I used to bring the chicks with me, but this time I brought the Red Dragon with me, so that it wouldn't feel uncomfortable. But the dragon was not happy, and told the chicks that Mei Gan and the others had disturbed its hibernation. After hearing the chicks' report, Mei Gan wanted to stuff the Red Dragon back into the egg, if the egg was that big. The title cannot be changed. I typed yes too quickly and clicked send. I saw it too quickly and had already clicked publish. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.